Okay. Shall I start?
Yes,
It's not in the
it's
YouTube.
yes. Let me check then.
It's not in the
Yes, yes.
YouTube. We are on
Yes.
live. We are
Let
starting.
me
Okay.
check then.
Sushmita, we are
Yes, yes.
সুস্মিতাটা বন্ধ করো,
live.
সুস্মিতা
We
বন্ধ
are
করো, মিউট করো।
live.
Okay, okay.
We are
Let
starting.
me
Okay.
check then.
Sushmita, we are live.
সুস্মিতাটা বন্ধ করো,
We
সুস্মিতা
are
বন্ধ করো, মিউট করো।
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
A very good afternoon, everyone. After the wonderful experience of the previous webinar, the Kidderpore College is back with a couple of international and national webinars. Today, on 18th of July 2020, amidst the critical COVID condition, the Department of Geography, in collaboration with the IQSC, welcomes you all to participate in our one-day international webinar on Covidity and mobility, reinvigorating future urban transport. Today, we all live mostly isolated or restricted lives, full of anxiety and skepticisms about our neighborhoods or places of employment are always with us. Each and every aspect of our lives has been altered permanently. While experts across the world get busy in inventing new vaccines or critically assessing the falling economic trends, there are two sectors which have become the primary concerns for the common people, for the masses. One is, of course, the extant conditions of the hospitals and the health sectors. And the other sector is obviously the transport sector. The transport sector is indeed the most susceptible space for maximum degree of dissemination of this terrible disease. While we are continuously trying to cope with our new normal life, to reboot our economic system, to connect ourselves with the outer world, the main hindrance is nothing but the absence of any proper strategic mass transport plan. Since lockdown to this questionable phase of gradual unlocking, the most neglected sector of our society is this transport sector. We have indefinitely stopped using mass transport modes like our local train services, metro rail services, and yet we have reopened our offices. And we started bus services, yet there are severe imbalances in the demand supply ratio. Such ill planned and short sighted measures have definitely contributed to the spike in the corona cases in the last 2 weeks or so. India is not an exception. Countries from developed and developing worlds have also been experiencing similar crises. However, since necessity is the mother of inventions, such situations are also generating new transport strategies for sustaining our future mobility. In this context, the Department of Geography, Kidderpore College, has made an attempt to rethink the importance of transport geography in this COVID environment. We are happy to announce that we have some of the eminent transport geographers with us today to throw some light on this crucial issue. Now, we will proceed to our next part, but we regret to inform you that our principal, Sir Dr. Abhijit Ganguly, is unable to join us this afternoon due to some medical emergency, because of which he is currently attending a relative in a hospital. He has, however, sent an audio clip which we will share with you. Thank you. Over to you, Aniket.
Good afternoon.
Our Kidderpore College today is going to start an international webinar on Covidity and mobility, Reinvigorating Future Urban Transport, organized by the Department of Geography of our college and in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of our college. We have with us today Professor Meenakshi Rai, Pro Vice Chancellor for Business Affairs and Finance, University of Calcutta, to inaugurate the program. And in the part of speaker, we have with us today Professor Yovesh Bouquet, Professor in Geography, University of Burgundy, France, Professor Balakrishna Champat Vaidya, Professor in Geography and Geopolitics, JNU, India, and Professor Maseb As Salhin, Professor of Environmental Science, Gano Vishwavidyalaya, Bangladesh. Our today's program on this webinar have fixed on such matter that is very relevant for this COVID affected running situation and post COVID session also. We are just thinking to retrieve from this horrible situation to return back to the way of our day to day life. And all the aspect of mobility and measures needful to our social normality, we are searching for that. This main thing to discuss about the topics of today's webinar is the mobility in transport. That's the basic part of our urban life. The logistic solutions all over the world, the innovative technologies, and sustainable methods of urban transport without hampering the inner city environment. The directives in this regard has been launched day by day. Already, we are in the footboard in the traffic congestion and excessive carbon dioxide emissions. Those emissions are the threat in our day-to-day life. The direct impact of environmental, of human pollution is hampering our life, and especially COVID has put on a finger on that direction from where we can see if we reduce the traffic congestion, cutting down the harmful emissions of carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide more than 70 to 75% per day, then how much we would be benefited by adopting a sustainable urban mobility or the mobility plan to reboost our nature. I read on a very recent published research journal that the government of Italy and Ukraine, as well as Netherlands, has developed a plan of their traffic congestion, uh, cutting down the annual emission of carbon dioxide by 72 tons. And they effectively manage their alternative parking congestion and etc. And the administrative guidelines. So far, only 33% of their trips to a new retail parking in Zurich and Switzerland, and also in Netherlands. The new innovations have come that they are trying to distribute their freights like electric boats for last mile deliveries. All those have been started there. Hence, the demand of the responsive, useful or beneficial transport in lieu of conventional public transport, especially in thickly populated area in our country also, and all over the country as well as the remote villages are growing on gradually. And we have some idea that we can share in this platform from the honorable speakers, and how quick and how much we can able to start up our mobility in the urban transport from where we will be benefited more than our expectation, and that will also will be the cost effective, emission free, and without the dependency or hampering the dependency of our common conceptions of the common users also regarding the communicative behavior or of transport. We are almost in the way of our starting phase now. Lastly, I want to pay my thanks to my IQS coordinator, Dr. S. Sarkar Rai, and Dr. Tista De, HOD of the Geography, and Dr. Dibendu Rai, HOD of Physical Education of my college, for their beautiful arrangement of this session. And I hope that the webinar will get it all success. Thank you.
Over to you, Shushmita.
Now I thank our esteemed principal sir for his observations, and now I would like to invite Dr. Sudokshina Sarkar Roy, the coordinator of IQAC of Kidderpore College, to speak a few words. Over to you, Sudokshina Di.
Dr. Obhijit Ganguly, Principal, Kidderpore College, Professor Meenakshi Ray, Pro Vice Chancellor for Business Affairs and Finance, University of Calcutta, our distinguished speakers, Professor Yves Bouquet, Professor, University of Burgundy, France, Professor Mesbah Salehin, Professor, Department of Environmental Science, Gonu Vishwavidyalaya, University, Dhaka, Bangladesh, Professor Balkrishna Champat Vaidya, Professor in Geography and Geopolitics, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. Our esteemed participants, including faculty, research scholars, and students, my beloved colleagues, and the organizers of the webinar. Today, we have come together to participate in the international webinar on Covidity and Mobility, Reinvigorating Future Urban Transport, hosted by the Department of Geography and the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Kidderpore College. Since time immemorial, transport has contributed to the cause of civilization. Man started with the wheel and arrived at the supersonic age with only one goal in mind: movement of goods and people. But suddenly, everything has changed. A virus has attacked the earth and its inhabitants, nearly paralyzing everything that was considered normal. The usual became unusual, the common became uncommon, the familiar became unfamiliar, and the normal became the new normal. All sectors of human activity are gasping for breath as all have been struck by the pandemic. One of the worst hit sectors has been the transport sector, as it has virtually come to a standstill. Familiar sights of cars flying on the roads, buses ferrying passengers, motorbikes streaking across the cityscape have become rare. They had completely disappeared for a few months, but now, even though they are back, nowhere do we see the milling crowds jostling for space in overcrowded public vehicles. Trains meandering out of railway stations and piercing their way through green fields seem a distant past. Freight trains ply, but with limited capacity, and railway coaches have been converted into hospitals for COVID-19 patients. The once bustling airports are deserted and flights are few and infrequent. The grounding of flights has led to major loss of revenue. And all this has happened because a lockdown had to be imposed on the country to prevent the spread of the virus. Since the world woke up to the fact that it has to battle an invisible enemy, everything has changed. We realize that public transport has to be avoided because they are generally overcrowded and people have every chance of contracting the contagion. It is supposed to be one of the worst carriers of the virus. Where does that leave us? Do we have to give up everything that was once part of our lives? Does it mean we have to stop going on holidays? Would it be an overstatement to say that future is very gloomy and depressing? We are groping in the dark. We are waiting with bated breath for a cure for this infection. And in the meantime, we try to find answers to many questions which have surfaced in these uncertain times. I'm sure that our distinguished speakers will be able to enlighten us in this regard. I only wish we had met in happier times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shidukhinadi, for your effective words, for your supportive words.
You're
We are
welcome.
really Thank you. We're really lucky to have a very special person with us today. We have today with us respected Professor Meenakshi Ray, ma'am, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor for Business Affairs and Finance of University of Calcutta. She has kindly agreed to give her valuable time for us to give the inaugural speech. Her presence in this webinar is like a source of positive energy to accelerate our academic endeavors in near future. Now, I would like to invite our special guest of this webinar, respected Professor Meenakshi Ray, ma'am, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor for Business Affairs and Finance of University of Calcutta, to share few words with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tista. Good afternoon, everybody. Just now I heard the unfortunate news of medical emergency of Dr. Abhijit Ganguly, Principal, Kidderpore College. I just want to extend my warm wishes to him. Hope he will be relieved from this emergency very soon. My words of appreciation goes to Dr. Tista De, convener of this international webinar on Covidity and mobility, reinvigorating future urban transport. My sincere congratulations to the IQAC of Kidderpore College and IQAC coordinators, especially for playing a supportive role. COVID-19 pandemic has drastically transformed each and every aspect of human existence. It has changed consumption patterns of people. It has altered consumer behavior on a massive scale. It has changed, minimized, and restricted our travel routine. In fact, it is changing the way we think, we work, read, or relax on a daily basis. From environment to economy, from people to politics, from health to hygiene and health infrastructure, everything is experiencing rapid alteration and compelling us to cope with a new normal. What is the state of common people in this situation? In the volatile situation of lockdown and gradual unlocking of the nation, the common people find themselves completely plunged in multidimensional phases of insecurity, and the struggle for survival has become more acute. One of the sectors crucially associated with economy survival as well as greater dissemination of the disease is the transport sector. In fact, across the world, lockdown meant an immediate closure of various modes of public transport, and busy metropolises overnight turned into deserted spaces. However, the shutting down of mass transport services can only be viable for a limited period and cannot in itself be seen as a solution, particularly since the use of personalized vehicles for each and every passenger is not feasible. In a country like India, with high population density, large number of daily commuters traveling great distances, and extremely unequal distribution of resources, the state must consider the needs of common people and ensure safe operation of mass transport modalities to ensure containment of the disease on the one hand and economic revival on the other hand. Because both are equally important. Various countries in the West, which have managed to flatten the curve somehow, are already implementing novel strategies to cope with the changing demands of this uncertain juncture in history. We need to learn from them. We need to learn from their experiences while recognizing the need to adapt their insights to the different demands and challenges that characterize our own circumstances. The concerns of all the stakeholders associated with the transport sector must be considered to formulate a holistic understanding. Therefore, what should I do? What should we do rather? We should formulate urgently a systematic, strategic development plan, and it is very necessary to generate new transport policies very soon. And while implementing the policy, what will be our priority areas? In this COVID era, we have to prioritize what the common passengers think, what they feel, what they need, and most importantly, what they want to avoid. We all know that travel restriction is during pandemic is a non-pharmaceutical intervention. In mitigating viral pandemics, comparatively higher benefits may be gained by imposing mobility restriction as an adjunct to other effective control measures and restrictions. Travel restriction might delay the spread and peak of pandemics by a few weeks or say a few months only, nothing else. But there is no evidence of total containment of highly infectious or vector-borne disease within a defined geographical area by adhering to travel restrictions only. Rather, such restrictions appeared ineffective in case of high transmissibility of the virus. Moreover, it clearly generates negative social and economic impact. In this context, such an international webinar concentrating on the crisis of mobility in the COVID situation and the need for reinvigorating mass transport by assimilating the insights and possibilities taken from other countries and other developed countries and developing countries both will be really beneficial, not only for the academicians and research scholars, but also for the common people who are eager to know about the future transport and mobility patterns. Hope from this webinar a possible measure will emerge based on advanced thinking. I want to conclude by extending my best wishes to the distinguished speakers in this webinar. Hope the session ahead be interesting and informative one. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your encouraging words. We shall definitely try to fulfill the expectations of the participants in this webinar and also in future. Now, we will proceed towards our main part of this webinar. Our first speaker is Professor Yves Bouquet. He is a professor of geography, University of Burgundy in Dijon, France. He has taught in various other international universities like University of Maryland and University of Louisville, United States of America. University of the Philippines, Diliman and Lyceum of the Philippines University, as well as Gajah Mada University in Yogyakarta in Indonesia of the Philippines University. His area of interest is mostly the geography of urban, air, and maritime transportation, on megalopolis studies, and studies on Southeast Asia and China. He is the Secretary General of the Association of French Geographers, editorial director of the Journal Bulletin of the Association of French Geographers, and former secretary of the Transport Geography Commission of International Geographical Union (IGU). He has written several books on transportation and on other aspects of geography. His recent book is The Philippine Archipelago, published by Springer in 2017. He has also authored many other books on French geography of tourism and leisure, globalization, geographers and geographies, Southeast Asia on and also on air transportation. Last but not the least, he has been a source of my personal inspiration and counsel since 2011 when we first met in an international conference in Hyderabad. After that, we met several times in various conferences of IGU, both in India and also in Poland. He also visited the University of Calcutta once and delivered his valuable speech. And now we are planning to have our next meeting in 2022 in Paris if circumstances permit. We are really fortunate that such an eminent professor has consented to be a part of this webinar rather. So without further delay, I would like to call upon Professor Yves Bouquet to deliver his speech. He will deliver his lecture on COVID impacts on mobility in France and in Philippines from restrictions to model shifts. Over to you, Professor Bouquet.
Okay, good afternoon. Do you hear me all right?
Yes, it's
Okay,
perfectly
so
fine.
thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this webinar. In fact, that's the first time I do that kind of exercise, but we are forced to do it with the current conditions. And especially want to thank Convener Professor Tistade, who was gracious enough to invite me to this after we met several times before, as she just said. So my talk would be about the Philippines and France, a kind of a comparative look at the way the two countries have handled transportation in the situation of the COVID crisis. So first, have a look quickly at the numbers, the data numbers. I think you have the slides showing on the screen. Yes. So let's go to the next one. So just for a quick background, France has had many more people hit with the virus than the Philippines. But as you can see on the chart, France has slowed down the progress of the virus when the Philippines, who have been relatively low in the number of people affected by the virus, is now experiencing a rapid growth. And which would be quite interesting is to compare that with the change, the daily change of the number of cases. We see in France, we had a peak in the number of cases in the month of April, while the numbers were still very low in the Philippines. Now, after France had lockdown, confinement periods starting in mid-March, the numbers have gone down, and there have been some spikes in France is in blue, some spikes in the numbers, but overall the numbers are now relatively low. When in the Philippines, they had also a very long lockdown, almost 3 months, and now the numbers are increasing after the end of the strict confinement of the people at home. So this is the background for the number of cases. Now we'll see what the government did with this. We'll go to the next slides. So we had the two presidents, Mr. Macron of France, Mr. Duterte of the Philippines. And the policy was the first policy was on public health, to flatten the curve, try to limit the growth of the disease. This has led to restrictions on individual mobilities in both countries at exactly the same time. And as in many other countries, we have seen a major drop in economic activity affecting businesses, big and small, and also the households have been affected. So both the companies and the people have suffered from the restrictions of mobility imposed by health measures. So what I will do here in this presentation is compare the situation between a developed nation, my country, France, and a developing country, the Philippines, which is the country that I've been studying for the last 10 years or so. So if you can move to the next slides, on the next one. Yes. So my talk would be in three parts. In the first part, I'll talk about the closing down, then about the reopening, and then show some perspective for the future, focusing, of course, on transportation, since this is the main theme of this webinar. So the two countries had about the same time the measures on confinement. We can see exact parallelism. On March 12, the French president announces that schools and universities would close. My university is still closed. I've not set foot in my university for 4 months. The next day, the prime minister banned the gathering of more than 100 people. On the 14th, everything non-essential was closed. The restaurants, the cafes, the cinemas, the nightclubs. And on March 16, the president announced mandatory home confinement. That was originally for 15 days. Then it was prolonged and it ended on May 11. And the borders of France were closed. Not possible to go in or out of France, even with close neighbors like Germany or Belgium. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, we can see on March 12, the president decides to lock down Metro Manila, the metropolitan area of the capital city of the Philippines, with all land, air, and sea travel stopped for 1 month. On 2 days later, it was the entire island of Luzon, which was involved in it was included in an enhanced community quarantine. So for first Manila, then half of the Philippines. And then other regions were quarantined at a later date. So we have exact parallelism in the two countries the policy measures were at the same time. So in the Philippines, if we can look at the series of maps on the next slide. Yes, so we have in the Philippines an evolving situation. From March 17 to April 30, all of the northern island of Luzon, where a large part of the people live, on some other islands were under the regime of extended community quarantine. That means that people were not able to go out anywhere. Then from May 1st to May 15, they relaxed the rules on some of the regions which were previously completely closed. Then on March 16 to 31, they had another change. They went from an extended community quarantine to general community quarantine to modified extended community quarantine, then modified general community quarantine. So they have that alphabet soup of ECQ, GCQ, MECQ. That was a little bit confusing for the people, but it showed that the country reopened little by little. Meanwhile, in other parts of the Philippines, they started also to implement some regulations. So Manila was closed. The Metro Manila, which is made up of 17 cities, was completely closed in mid-March with the checkpoints for to enter or to leave Manila. So people were not able to come into Manila, not able to go out of Manila. So some people were stuck in Manila. They were not able to go anywhere. Then the lockdown was extended to some other regions, especially we see in the next map. Okay, the next one again. So then the entire country was affected. We see the larger cities of Cebu in the center of the country, Cebu Island, and also the Davao region, which is the third largest metropolitan area in the southern Philippines. They were also under very high confinement. And the government of the Philippines, with the help of the University of the Philippines, determined where some high risk areas, which are mostly Metro Manila, the province of Laguna, which is just south of Manila, and also Cebu City, were considered as high risk with maximum confinement. Then you had the areas in yellow, moderate risk areas, and the rest of the country was low risk area with a relaxation of any quarantine. So we have a situation which is variable according to the regions in the Philippines. In France, what were the restrictions? Starting on March 23rd, everybody had to carry a self-completed declaration stating the reasons to be out in public. So people had to stay home and were only allowed with a document filled at every time we were going out, we had to fill out this document. The reasons to go out which were acceptable were going to shopping for food, traveling to work for people who were still at work, if people were not telecommuting, accessing healthcare, traveling for essential family matters, including childcare of care of the elderly. And also we were allowed to exercise for a maximum of 1 hour within 1 kilometer from the home. And the document was first a paper document, then we had a computer-based and especially cell phone-based version people could show to the police. If people did not have the attestation, the documents, they could be fined 135 euros by the police. And when the confinement started on May 11, the radius was extended to 100 kilometers from the residence. And that was for a transition period of 3 weeks that ended on June 2nd. Now in France, we can travel all around France. We don't need the documents. To respond to this injunction to stay home most of the time, local bus, tram, and subway services were reduced by more than 80%. So there was a big drop in the number of buses, trams, metro trains available in Paris, in Lyon, in Marseille, in other cities. Most of the people who used it were the people required to go to work, especially the health workers. So most of the people were requested, in fact, to stay home and not use transportation. And of course, using a mask was mandatory, a face mask was mandatory, and people not having a valid reason could be fined by the police. So the next slide, we have the documents. So here on the right, we have the French document, which was this piece of paper. We had to cross the reason why we were going out. And in the Philippines, they had the same kind of documents, which was an official document that people had to get at the neighborhood level, at the barangay level. People were given the document if they wanted to go out, for example, to purchase of daily food or medicine. And in some areas, it was very clear that people with no documents were not allowed to enter. And it was 1% for quarantine pass, for example, to go to a shopping mall. So at the local, in the Philippines, it was mostly at the local scale that the quarantine passes was delivered, but in France, it was a one form, which was good for everybody. So this was the situation at the height of the crisis. And in fact, this is what happened in most countries in the world. We can see in most metropolitan areas in the world a huge reduction in urban transit use. We see Paris, I put the little red arrow. In Paris, we see all of a sudden the quantity of transportation diminishes drastically. And it's the same in most European cities. We see Amsterdam, Barcelona, Berlin, Birmingham. It's same in the US. The only cities which have not reduced too much their transportation were Hong Kong and Singapore. But in most other cities in the world, unfortunately, I don't have Manila on this chart, but it was the same in Manila. They came back from the dark blue to the white, indicating almost no public transport at all. With an encouragement in the Philippines to help the health workers and encouraging people who are still allowed to use their car to help the nurses and the doctors to go from their homes to the hospitals. So this was phase one, with the people controlling the access to the neighborhoods, like here in the Philippines. We have some local groups, and you can see it here on the next picture. Yes, we see here the people guarding the entrance of the neighborhood, and it's very clear, no quarantine, no pass, no mask, no entry. And it was decided at the local levels with some people making sure that outsiders were not able to come out of the neighborhood. There were also long distance restrictions on travel. In France, all intercity buses stopped. The trains did not stop, but the schedules were reduced by about 3/4, with the police controlling the access to the train, and people had to show they had a valid reason to travel. Most foreign travel stopped, and most domestic air travel stopped. The result was the airport, the Paris Orly airport, the second airport in Paris, was closed. It was closed for about 3 months. And at Charles de Gaulle Airport, the main airport in Paris, all traffic was concentrated on 2 terminals instead of 6, and only 1 runways out of the 4 runways was used. And air traffic has dropped by more than 95%. This was the very strict and very important reduction in air travel. With the progressive deconfinement, the borders were reopened on June 15, first the borders for Europe. And then on July 1st, it was a common decision of the European Union countries to make a list of safe non-European countries to be reopened for traffic starting on July 1st. So there were Canada, now Europeans, and people from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Tunisia, Uruguay can come in Europe. China is allowed if China allows people to come in, and some of the countries excluded at this time were the US, Russia, Brazil, Mexico, India. You cannot come to Europe, we cannot go to India. And this list will be reevaluated every 2 weeks according to the health situations. In the Philippines, when they had the controls, one of the aspects was it was very militarized. We had military and police checking all the checkpoints by day and by night, and there have been some incidents of brutality and extortion reported by some media and human rights organizations. So some policemen used the opportunity to extort money from travelers, even if the travelers had a valid reason to go. So this was a little extreme measure. And one of the criticism leveled at the Philippine government, it has been a very military response to a humanitarian crisis. Also, some local governments had some specific rules, and what was decided at the national level was not always followed at the local level. It was, for instance, the case, this is a cartoon from a business journal, the food trades, the trucks bringing food from Manila were not allowed to enter some areas. There were some discussions, even though the drivers had the permit, local officials sometimes did not allow the trucks to come in. That aggravated the situation for the local people because the food was not always there. In the Philippines, the bus transportation was stopped, as it was in France. And in Philippines, they don't have a rail system. That's different from France and India. And the Philippines has no intercity rail, so the buses are very important. People had no alternative, so people were not able to go back to their provinces. And there have been some instances of people who decided to walk home. There's some people who walked 300 or 400 kilometers to go back home because it was for them the only way to go. There were no planes, there were no buses. People walked. In France, the bus transportation was also stopped. Next slide. But the problem was not too bad for the people. Bus is cheaper than trains, but the shutdown was not a catastrophe for people who needed to travel because we have a good train system. The bus system covers the country, but it is redundant with the train system. So it was not too much of a problem. It may be a problem for the companies who work as franchisees for the for the main groups, Flixbus especially, which is the largest company. But for the travelers were not too affected by this because it was still possible to travel by train. It was for the airports were closed. Charles Orly Airport was closed with the planes standing there waiting for the reopening. Only medical evacuation flights were allowed, but this airport in Orly was still open to emergency flights. Charles de Gaulle and Orly, the terminals were empty. Nobody traveling. However, at Charles de Gaulle, one of the aspects of the airport was still very active. It was freight transportation, because Charles de Gaulle is the main European hub for FedEx. So there was a huge activity in air freight. The passenger flights were stopped, but the FedEx flight was still going. And in fact, looking at the traffic to Charles de Gaulle, most of the planes, in fact, were air freight planes. FedEx and also cargo flights from different companies, from Qatar Air Cargo, for instance, they were active and bringing some special equipment, protective masks, medical equipment to help France and to supply the needs of the hospitals in France. One positive aspect of the crisis on the stop in transportation has been an improvement in the air quality. Few cars, few trucks, few planes, less noise, and we have seen more birds coming to the cities. The wildlife was more present, and the air quality was much better. The same thing was observed in the Philippines, with CNN Philippines reporting that Metro Manila air quality has greatly improved during quarantine. And some studies have been started to show the impact of COVID-19 on the atmospheric environment in Southeast Asia and in other countries. It is a study done by Malaysian researchers. This is an important issue. I know in India, you have, same as China, you have very bad air quality in your cities. This is something quite interesting. The crisis has shown the importance of transportation in the air pollution in the cities, because in most places, air pollution dropped drastically when the transportation was stopped. Now, let's go to the second phase, which is reopening. In France, we had a differentiated exit from lockdown. The Prime Minister presented quite regularly the status of the disease, how fast the virus was circulating, the capacity of hospitals to deal with it. And therefore, some regions were designated as green regions, where the deconfinement was faster. There were some red regions, including my city was in the red area, where the deconfinement was maintained for a longer time, until June 2nd and not May 11. And some areas were in between. And so the map was readjusted week after week. And now all of France has turned green, except for two areas, two overseas territories, Mayotte and the French Guiana. French Guiana next to Brazil, which is now the area with the highest problem. So how did it impact the transportation? In the Paris subway, usually very crowded, we see the two pictures on a map, on a slide, before the crisis and during the crisis. Now we still have a lot of people, but now they are wearing masks. And what they are doing is they are disinfecting the trains quite regularly. You have the metro employees cleaning at every end of the line. They are cleaning the trains. And if possible, they encourage people to sit on only half of the seats. So you have the seats which are allowed and the seats not allowed. And also on the bus stops in Paris, I took those pictures about 10 days ago. In Paris, they have the now liquid gel dispenser, hydroalcoholic dispensers at all the bus stops in Paris. So people can go in the bus and feel safe because they can clean their hands as soon as they go in or out of the bus. In the Philippines, same thing. The Philippine Department of Transportation has introduced a number of measures. People have to wear the face mask at all time. They encourage cashless payments, no more cash going from hand to hand, but they have installed machines to people for use their cards and just beep the card, not touching anything. They use thermal scanners for people entering the metro. They have put alcohol sanitizers in buses, and they disinfect surface in the vehicles. And also they have established some software solutions for contact tracing. The guidelines for public transportation in the Philippines have been to give higher priority to the vehicles with higher passenger capacity. The public utility vehicles, PUV, the buses will have first priority, then the modernized minibuses, and then the jeepneys and UV Express, and at the low end will be the tricycle, the motorized tricycles. So the priority was given to bigger buses with the limitation of every one seat out of two being used at a certain time. So what they did it also in two phases, June 1st to June 21 in Manila. They increased little by little the number of metro trains on buses. They authorized taxis. They prioritized shuttle service buses, point-to-point buses not stopping everywhere, but going from point A to point B without stops. They encouraged people to use bicycles, and they still prevented the provincial buses to enter Metro Manila. So Manila was still isolated from the province. Then on phase 2, they re-allowed buses, modernized public utility vehicles, and the shared taxis, what they call the UV Express, but nothing for the jeepneys, the tricycles, and the non-motorized tricycles called the pedicabs. So the recommendations here are on the different buses to have only half of the seats being used. The drivers will be isolated, and for the motorcycles, recently it has been decided that people as a couple can travel on the same motorcycle, but if you are not a married couple, you are not allowed. So it's quite controversial right now, and it's been evolving day by day, the policy. But right now, on a motorcycle, only married couple can travel together, and they have to show a marriage certificate to be allowed to travel, two people on the same motorbike. When they reopened the buses, it was at this time where people were allowed again to go work. One of the main problems they had, next slide, that there were not enough buses. So you had a huge demand of people wanting to go back to work. But the problem is the number of buses was too small, and it was a big failure when they reopened, because the demand was much higher than the supply. And they have been working to increase the demand, to increase the supply to respond to a high demand. For the metro system, which is usually extremely crowded, this is a picture. I've never seen the Metro Manila, the subway in Manila like this, with so few people. And they strictly restricted the number of people allowed on the trains, and they gave priority to elderly people and women, with people requested to keep their distance and, of course, to wear a mask, except here there's one man, he has removed his mask. What are the perspectives for the future? Aviation. Like in many countries, aviation has been hit very hard. In France, the French government has decided to help Air France, the national airline, under some conditions. The French government will put a lot of money, billions of euros, to help Air France, provided Air France reduces its carbon imprint. They will stop immediately the use of the 4 engines jetliners, the Airbus 340 and Airbus 380 will go out of the fleet immediately. And there will be no more domestic flights in the future to destinations that can be reached by train, such as Paris to Bordeaux. They will not allow those flights anymore. The idea is to reduce domestic flights and to encourage the use of trains in the future. The government will also provide some support to the aeronautics industry for the Airbus industry complex in Toulouse. Also, another decision was to freeze all new airport projects and possibly to reduce the number of airports in France. So next slide. Because we have in France, we have a very good high-speed rail system, it is now considered that some of the small airports, especially in the southern France, we see Pau and Tarbes in the southwest, are too close to each other. Carcassonne, Béziers, Perpignan, maybe one airport will be enough for this area. So the plan is probably to reduce the number of airports. Same near Lyon, which is the second largest city, they'll keep the airport. But Chambéry and Grenoble is probably one airport too much in that area. So the idea will be to reduce the number of flights and to focus more on the trains. And 3 days ago, the French president, in his national holiday speech, said he would push for more trains. In the Philippines, it's a little bit different because in the Philippines, there is no train system. The Philippine government cannot provide the massive support to the private airlines. There are 3 major airlines in the Philippines: Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, and Air Asia Philippines. The buses are slow, there's no trains, so the country needs the airplanes even more because it's an archipelago. So probably here we will not see a reduction in the focus on airlines, provided the airlines can survive the crisis. And in fact, there are now some airport projects which are still continuing because it's one of the backbones of the economic policy of the president of the Philippines is to develop new infrastructure. It's called Build, Build, Build. This is the basic of his economic plan before the crisis. And there are now 2 projects for 2 airports to replace the current airport in Manila. So this is quite different in France and Philippines. France will reduce the importance of domestic airlines and domestic flights when the Philippines will not stop it. In France, just after the deconfinement, we had municipal elections. And one very interesting result was a huge victory of the Green Party, the EELV, Europe Écologie Les Verts, Europe Ecology, the Greens, was a big winner in the municipal elections. They won big cities like Lyon or Bordeaux and Strasbourg. And this party had already gained a little bit in previous elections, but this time they had a big win. And their policies are geared toward more pedestrian areas in cities, city greening, more bicycle lanes, more car restrictions, or more public rail. Which is quite interesting is this victory of the Green Party comes at a time when people are thinking of the new ways to travel after this COVID crisis. The transportation was a major factor in the municipal race in Paris. Here we have the 5 main candidates represented as bicycle racers. And here in this newspaper, Courrier International, they have Paris, the battle of the municipal elections. Should ecology be imposed by force? On how to face the coronavirus. So here we have the encouragement to use the use of bicycles. And during the crisis, if you go to the next slide, during the crisis, the mayor of Paris, who won re-election, she is a socialist leader supported by the Green Party. She has decided to set up 50 kilometers of temporary bicycle lanes in Paris. So during the crisis, they painted new lanes of bicycles throughout Paris. And the goal were to avoid the need for cars, to compensate the reduced public transport offer, and to possibly to make it not just temporary for the crisis, but to extend it further down the line, so to make it more permanent. So 50 kilometers of bicycle lanes were designed in Paris. It was the same in another city, in Nice, where the mayor, who was re-elected, the mayor is on the right-wing party, he also pushed very hard for bicycle lanes. Just on the first week of confinement, they created 12 kilometers of bike lanes, and on the first month, 30 kilometers. So both on the sea, on the seafront, on the waterfront, and also in the inside of the city, Nice, as Paris, as other cities, has pushed very hard for the bicycle lanes. This was a trend in previous years, but this trend had been accelerated by the crisis. And the bicycle has been presented as a tool against the virus. To protect myself and protect others, the bicycle is my virus protection, because people are not so much in contact with others. It's also good for the health of the people. It improves the air quality. It reduces the density inside public transportation. So the bicycles have been promoted as a tool to protect people and protect their health in a situation of COVID-19. And next one. So a number of cities have designed not just bike lanes, but bike streets. We call that the Vélorue. So a number of streets have been converted from car-used streets to streets only for bicycles, with the idea that bicycles would have absolute priority. Cars would still be allowed, but in some cases, but the bicycles will always have priority. On this street, I, the car driver, stay behind bicycles. So it's slowing down the traffic and encouraging the use of bicycles. So this is a major trend in France and in other European countries. France was a little late compared to Denmark or Germany or the Netherlands, but France is now pushing very hard for the bicycle. In the Philippines, they also consider the crisis as an opportunity to reorganize mobility and transportation in Manila. First, they will encourage online government transactions, reduce the need for travel. Two, they will provide shuttle services, more point-to-point buses. Three, rationalize the routes, of redesign the entire map of the bus routes. Industry consolidation, instead of having dozens and dozens of small bus companies, probably reduce the number of companies to have a better system, a more efficient system. Dedicated lanes, buses will have dedicated lanes on the main thoroughfares. Automatic fare collection system to reduce the contact. People will just tap their card on the machine. Use of GPS, contact tracing, electric toll collection, and encouraging non-motorized transports. These are the guidelines of the Philippine Department of Transportation, especially for the region of Manila. Bicycles. How do you transfer Manila into a bike-friendly city? Here we have a city a little bit the same as what you have in India, very high population density in Manila. Some people have thought about introducing more space for bicycles. Here you see on the picture the usual situation in Manila. Many buses, many cars, and no space for bicycles, and it's unsafe, the air quality is bad. So a group of architects on the Metro Manila Development Authority have now envisioned a system of elevated bikeways and walkway above one of the main roads of Manila, called EDSA. Let's build an elevated walkway and bikeway along EDSA and leave our troubles below. EDSA cannot be fixed. We cannot share the road because of all the traffic. It would be impossible to build bike lanes alongside EDSA. So on this main road, the plan is, next slide, This is a ring road that goes around the Metro Manila Authority. In fact, it does not cover the city of Manila itself. It goes to a number of other cities of metropolitan Manila. This is the main road, which is always congested. So the idea is to first establish some bike lanes. The problem is, how do you insert bike lanes into a very dense road system? And since some of the bike lanes have been established on the sidewalks with a number of obstacles, so the idea, and they have started to do it, is to add some elevated bikeways to allow people a safer and faster way to go around. So these are some of the ideas floated around in Manila to try to have more people use their bicycles using the opportunity of the COVID crisis. They plan to have it to build it above the entire length of that ring road with bicycle lanes, places for pedestrians, a walkolator, that means that accelerated system for people to walk, and also to green it with the plantations, little trees, to absorb some of the carbon that come and provide better air quality also. Another way the system may change enormously in the Philippines is with the famous jeepneys. You know, the jeepneys are the famous vehicles in Manila. They serve as minibuses, about 15 to 20 to 25 people. They are colorful vehicles, very iconic. They provide a good part of the mobility in the Philippines and in Manila, but they are old, they are dirty, they are dangerous, and people, in the traditional way it's used, people are packed inside. You feel, if you sit in it, you feel it's full, but they always aim to have 2, 3, 4 more people in it. So there's a high level of promiscuity, enhancing the risk of coronavirus spreading. That's why these vehicles now have been banned during the crisis. No driving, no passengers. That means no money for the drivers, because it's mostly small local operations, small individual operations. If they have no money because they cannot take passengers, that means they have no food. Some have lost their house, and a number of people have ended up living in the vehicle, which is usually their way of working. So they live in a jeepney, they sleep there, they eat there, they cook inside the vehicle. So this was a major social crisis, with all those small operators being victims of the crisis, at a time when the government encourages them to switch to the driving of better vehicles, which are safer, cleaner, but more expensive to operate and to buy. So what they've done, they have now reopened them with checking the temperature of the people when people enter the vehicle. They have put some separations to limit the number of passengers. So they try to adapt the jeepney to the COVID situation. The problem is, if you have half the passengers, you cannot make money. Adapting the jeepney to the COVID distancing measures means reducing by half the number of passengers. It is not economically viable. And the Philippine government is even more encouraged to accelerate the disappearance for the streets. So the COVID-19 may have had as an effect to kill both the powerful Airbus 380, major plane, big plane, and also the lowly Philippine jeepney. So we have an impact of this crisis on both ends of the transportation system, huge planes and small city vehicle. Also, it may lead to greener transport policies. We see that in France with the push in the Green Party on the push for more bicycles in rich countries like France, also as poorer countries such as the Philippines. And interestingly, last year, when they had the local elections, a number of new mayors were elected which have shown they have greener ideas, greener mindset, greener perspective, especially the mayor of Manila, the mayor of Pasig, another city in Metro Manila. So there may be also some changes coming, and those changes accelerated by the COVID crisis. So thank you for attention. Merci de votre attention. Salamat po sa inyong lahat.
It's not audible. Shushmita, it's not audible.
Okay. Am I audible right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Professor Bouquet, for this enriching session. Now we are beginning our interactive session for this lecture. So we have some questions from our participants. Due to time crunch, we will take maximum 3 or 4 questions. So should I begin to read the questions, Professor Bouquet?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the very first question is from Shonjit Kundu. He is asking, what could be the post-COVID-19 innovations in urban transport? Can post-COVID-19 formulate sustainable urban mobility plans?
Well, the impact for the new plans was in France, as I shown, the big push for bicycles. Also, the idea would be to, for instance, in Paris, to facilitate the intermodality, to make people be able to use both transportation systems to have a better transfer from one mode to the other. In my city, for instance, in Dijon, we have a very nice tramway, and we encourage bicycles, but people are not allowed to take their bicycles inside the tramway. So the idea would be, if they want really to encourage people to use their bicycles, and sometimes people want to, if there is congestion in a city, and if there is no convenient bike path, the people could be allowed to use their bicycle, to take the bicycle inside the tramway to cover some distance before they can go other way. Also, to reduce the impact of the car in the city, they encourage people to use parking lots outside the city near the tramway station. These are some of the things that have been, some ideas that have been advanced before, but the situation after the COVID may accelerate trends which are already existing before. And in the Philippines, of course, the changes will be, the major change would probably be the accelerated disappearance of the jeepney, which has been something that was approaching little by little, but this will accelerate it very much.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Our next, should I shoot our next question, because there is a crunch of time. There is a participant called Lopa. She is asking, though less mode of transport indicate clear environment, what will be the impact of increased use of plastics like gloves, PPE on environment in future?
Yes, that's not exactly transportation. It's a wider question,
yes.
But yes, that's one of the problems. People will use the plastic on the face mask. Many people are using disposable face masks, and now they have people just throwing it everywhere. So now they have to clean up the streets because they have too many face masks. And those face masks may be also contaminated by, if people have the virus and they wear those face masks that they dispose of without taking care of the environment. That's a major problem. That's the plastic. And if they put some plastic separations inside the jeepneys to isolate people, first of all, is it very effective to prevent the spread of the virus? And two, of course, yes, it's a big use of plastic, and it goes contrary to the trend of limiting the use of plastics. And we know there are, especially in Asia, there are so many plastic refuse on the beaches, and
Yes.
the beaches in Thailand, in the Philippines, Indonesia are covered with plastics, and it's not good for tourism. Also, when tourism will restart, people want to have a clean beach, and the beaches are dirty with all the plastics. Yeah, that's
Yes.
a major problem.
Okay, our next, we will take only one more question. That is from Ujjal Maiti. He's asking, so how will we go long distance with bicycles?
How will I
How
didn't
will go? How will we go long distance with bicycles? How can we
the
cover
bicycle,
long distance
one of
with
the
bicycles?
problems for the bicycles, especially in your countries in Asia, in a monsoon season, the bicycle is not very comfortable to use.
Yes,
If it's
yes,
if it's very hot, very humid, and if you have abundant rains, like you have sometimes in a I think that right now I've read that there have been some problems with the monsoon
yes,
in Mumbai in recent days. They have flooding in China. In Manila, when it rains too much. That's one of the problems of the use of bicycles in very hot, humid, wet conditions. And also, the bicycle, unless you have the electric bicycle, you may get tired after a while. People will not walk 30, 40 kilometers. People are not professional ra- racing cyclists.
yes.
So by the bicycle used to be the basis of transportation in many cities. In China, 40 years ago, there were bicycles everywhere for local transportation, just a few hundred meters. Of course, as cities have gotten much bigger now, this is not as practical. That's maybe a difference with European cities are more compact. If you go to a
Hmm.
Dutch city or to a French city or a German city, the cities are relatively smaller. If you have a big sprawling megalopolis like Los Angeles in the USA, or if you take in some cities that are sprawling, the bicycles are not very useful if you do long distance. That's why the bicycle should be used as a local mode of transportation to be linked with longer distance transportation modes, such as the metro system. That's what they have in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, they have people in some of the new towns on the outskirts of Hong Kong. They have bicycle lanes on big, big bicycle parks where people can then go to the metro and go to downtown Hong Kong. The same, I
Okay.
think I've seen the same also in Singapore.
Okay. Thank you for this enriching session, Professor Bouquet.
Thank you.
Uh, so this was our last question for this session. The entire organizing team is thankful for your August virtual presence. We will definitely be in touch in future for various research and academic collaborations. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Professor
Thank
Bouquet.
you very much
And now over to the
for
study.
inviting me.
Thank you, Professor Bouquet.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Okay, we will be in
Thank you.
touch. Okay, so
Thank
we'll
you.
proceed. Have a great day ahead, sir. Okay.
Okay. So I'll continue to listen, but I'll
Yes,
have
of
my
course
lunch now.
you can. You can. You have our YouTube link also, and you have this link too. Whatever you want, sir. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye
So we
bye.
will. Bye, sir. Bye. Thank you,
Bye
sir.
bye.
So, yeah. Bye. So now we will proceed to our next speaker. Okay. Um, so now I would like to call upon Professor Misbahus Salihin sir, Professor of Department of Environmental Science, Ganu Vishwavidyalaya, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Actually, we have had an in-depth idea about the transportation scenario of France and Philippines. But we are also quite curious to know about the transportation situation of one of the closest country, both physically and culturally, to our own city, Kolkata. Yes, I'm talking about the city of Dhaka. Professor Salihin is also a retired professor of Jahangirnagar University. He has 40 years of academic and administrative experiences. He served as the chairman of the Department of Geography, Dean, Faculty of Social Science, and proctor of the university, provost of a student hall. And he also performed many other administrative roles. In 1985, he was a visiting staff of the Normal Peterson School of International Affairs at Carleton University, Ottawa, Canada. In 1987, as a Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences, he visited the United States under the US government Scholars Visiting Program. Professor Salihin's teaching interests include population geography, migration studies, transportation, urbanization, environment, and aging. Professor Salihin has more than 50 referred publications to his credit and also has acted as a consultant of UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and also United Nations Commissions on Human Settlement, Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, and also Government of Bangladesh. He is the life member of 11 international and national professional organizations. Presently, he is the Vice President of the Asiatic Society of Bangladesh, Bangla Academy, and also Bangladesh National Geographical Association, Bangladesh Geographical Society, and Bangladesh Itihash Porishad. He is also the life member of the Indian Science Congress Association and the Geographical Society of India at Kolkata. It is our privilege to have such a versatile academician as well as an administrator with us. But seriously, frankly speaking, for me, Professor Salihan sir is the most jovial person who simplifies our complex lives with his enchanting words and a big smile on his face. Today, he will deliver his lecture on COVID-19 and the related problems on the urban transport scenario in Bangladesh. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody, to all of you. বাংলাদেশ থেকে আপনাদের শুভেচ্ছা এবং বিশেষ করে তিস্তা দেখে জানাচ্ছি যে আমার সময় এত বড় লাইভ পড়তে যে এত 5 মিনিট নিয়ে নিলে তুমি। If you see the background of me, we are having a heavy rainfall with some thunderstorm. I don't know how long this will literally come. You can see on the background. Okay. 7 months ago, nobody did imagine that how the world, our lives would have been thrown into a turmoil by a continuous virus called COVID-19. Did you ever think 7 months ago what will have happened here? Through its effect today, there are more than 14 million people are suffering and 600 people have been dead in the world. In Bangladesh scenario, it is about 200,000 people are now affected yesterday and 2,600 people are dead. Just today's Anandabazar Patrika of Kolkata, you had yesterday the highest number of people are infected in India. It is about 34,000. So far, India has 26,000 people, more than 26,000 people have been dead to coronavirus. So how long it will continue, nobody knows. Only Allah or Bhagavan knows when it will continue. So, and as you mentioned that we are in the same cultural background. We are not very much, we are just politically well divided, but culturally we still talk in the same language. Our culture is the same. So in my write-up, or I am named writer, I will put up some points to you to think about it. And the scenario of Bangladesh and about Dhaka city, in urban areas. In a brief, let us see the Bangladesh scenario of COVID-19. First case of COVID virus was detected in our country in March 2020. As of April, there was about 803 cases, April 13. From March 15, due to increase of the virus infected, the country banned all flights from Europe except United Kingdom. 631,000 people entered in the country in just 55 days from the January 31. And at that time, you know, people in the Europe were mainly affected. This France, Italy, United Kingdom, Germany was a bit less. So we have banned all the flights from Europe except United Kingdom. And just other day, my grandson, only grandson of 17 years, told me, it is our fundamental right to move freely. Why you should ban our movement? Why? He was asking me. I couldn't give him a very good answer. Okay. From March 16, the country imposed 14 days long self-isolation from the travelers who are allowed to enter the country, 14 days. And to check them, army was also deployed in 2 quarantine facilities in Dhaka. You know the nature of Bengali people. When they arrived, when they took on the quarantine area, said, oh, I want to go to see my father. But they are coming from Italy. At that time, Italy was a very particular point. Then, due to the quickly surges of the virus, like many other countries, our government adopted some non-therapeutic preventive measure. It is not a medical measure. It is non-therapeutic. What is that? Social and physical distancing, mind it. They call it social, that is entirely a physical distancing. Use of face mask, country lockdown, very important thing for transportation. Travel ban, another thing, if we consider the transportation system. Hygiene, sanitation, and ventilation in the transport. Self-quarantine, limited office activities from home. Close down the education institution. All the education institutions are closed up to 8th of August of this next month. I'm very happy to see that you have published the higher secondary education result yesterday. And only more than 90% students have passed. 4 students got 499 out of 500. Congratulations to them, according to Ananda Bajar Bakri of today. 499 out of 500. My goodness. Close down of commercial organization and on the population movement. Bangladesh government has put this non-therapeutic measures to control the spread of the coronavirus. They have made, first of all, their idea was to save people, not the economic side. Now they are thinking about the economic side, all the countries are now. These measures face challenges to the people, mostly to the lower and middle income group. All these measures who are taken, the 10 measures I have told you, it has put all in a difficult position, particularly the lower middle class and the middle class people. This affects all the socio-economic sectors in Bangladesh. Coronavirus, like in all the countries, our India, Bangladesh, and all the South Asian countries, is all the socio-economic sectors. The transport sector is one of them. It is one of them of the sector who has been affected. It is obvious that socio-economic sectors, economic sectors outputs are less. So less will be the transport sector output. If other sectors output is less, transport sector will definitely not grow. Now let me tell you briefly about our population, our urban scenario. It is unique in Bangladesh urban scenario. At present, we have got 165 million people. 16 কোটি লোক আমরা আছি বাংলাদেশে 39% of these people lives in the urban areas. We call it urban areas. Urban centers we call it, not urban areas. Only 42 urban areas, centers, have population of more than 100,000 people. And other 510 is less than 100,000. Now Dhaka, now let us talk about Dhaka. Dhaka is the only capital, which is unique capital of the world. We all are geographers probably. From geographical location point of view, Dhaka is the best capital of the world, just in the center of the country. If Paris can be equated with us, Delhi in the north of the country. So Paris, Moscow is the western side of the country. Washington DC is the eastern side of the country. Tokyo, southern side. London, southern side. Rome, southern side. But Dhaka is just situated in the middle of this country. If you want to give the price of the best geographically located capital, Dhaka will get it. So all the distance, it is west, northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. All the distance from Dhaka is the same. If you have gone to northeast from the southeast, you have to go through Dhaka, like Paris. So this makes Dhaka is a very vulnerable capital of the world. Everybody comes here, everybody comes here, everybody comes here. Dhaka has now, we have called it a mega city. And Dhaka mega city constitute 4% of the urban population of the Bangladesh. If we have a 39% urban population, which is about 6 crores or 6.5 crores, Dhaka mega city consists of nearly 221 or 222 crores. Think about it. In Dhaka city itself has got 21 million people. 2 koti 10 lakh lok. On top of that, another 800,000 people are coming and going, like Calcutta. I don't know about the Covidity. I have been to Calcutta many times. In the morning, all the trains are coming from the suburbs, from the Shialda. And in the evening, they all are going. In Calcutta at that time, I still remember Professor Birashe Banerjee once told me যে আমাদের এখানে প্রতিদিন সালিন সাহেব 5 লক্ষ ঢোকে তখন in 1919 আর 5 লক্ষ সকাল বিকেলে বেরিয়ে যায়. We have to count about it. Among all these suburbs of business activities are centered around Dhaka, and we have a centralized government system. Everything is Dhaka. If you look at, we are all educated now, can you tell me readily that what is the second city of Thailand? We cannot say. It is Chiang Mai. Because Bangkok is such. Bangkok is Thailand, Thailand is Bangkok. Similarly, Dhaka is Bangladesh, Bangladesh is Dhaka. If Chittagong was not there, only Chittagong people knows about name of Chittagong because of port. So Dhaka's effect on our economy, on our political situation, on this urban transportation is unique. So I must, and Dhaka, the greater Dhaka is only 1,540 square kilometer. The inner Dhaka is 400 square kilometer. So now these give you some idea about what is Dhaka, what is Bangladesh, and how that we are living over here. Now, on March 25, the Bangladesh government declared an enforcement of lockdown countrywide for 10 days from March 26. And then it has to be done because it is, coronavirus is a contagious disease. We don't know who will be affected, who will not be affected. So lockdown, still the lockdown is there, but not countrywide. It is region-wise, it is sector-wise. In Dhaka, it is on some ward-wise. We call it ward. I don't. Ward is about 64 wards make the South Dhaka Corporation, City Corporation, and 54 wards constitutes the North Dhaka City Corporation. Okay. Due to lockdown situation, what happened? Interaction with the producers and consumers changed radically. Because of lockdown, you cannot go out, and it affects the supply chain. All that. But only the supply chain, the commercial commodities like fish, like vegetable, and I still remember in April, a brinjal, 1 kilo brinjal cost 5 taka in Panchagor. And when it comes to Dhaka, it becomes 60 taka. 5 takas consumer, after coming to the 300 kilometers, it becomes 60 taka. Just imagine, because of that, transport is not there, some local. So this is one thing, this lockdown has affected on the transportation problem. In trouble, people are confined in limited space. As the French professor told, the contagious risk of corona increases with the level of passengers in a bus or in occupancy. How do you know? It's difficult to control the identity of passenger or worker, whether he is corona affected or not. So I am entering a bus. How do you know that the other passengers are not affected on corona? And the workers who are there is not having a coronavirus in there? Plus, when you enter to the bus, the surfaces like seats, like handrails, like doors, like ticketing, that is why another thing has come, sanitization. Every 2 hours we have to wash our hand. Make it 20 seconds minimum. So these are the things. You see, anything you touch, if a coronavirus patient touch that one, it will come to my body. So these are the changes. আমি এটা বাসে উঠছি, আমি হ্যান্ডেল ধরলাম, এরা কেন এখানে একটা coronavirus হ্যান্ডেল ধরতে পারে না? All these things, these non-therapeutic activities or measures make the transport picture very difficult. As a result, urban travel has declined and the public road transport has taken a hard-edged blow. Now, who are the sufferers? It is the transport workers. They are unable to bear the shutdown impacts. In a bus company, only 2 to 3% people are permanent staff. Others are all day-to-day basis. The conductor, the helper. In the other day, I was going to a survey, but a owner has got 40 buses flying from intercity of Dhaka. He now flies only 10 buses. Passengers become less. If the buses contains the 50 seats, only 25 will be allowed. You have to sit, leaving one seat between you two. So the passengers have gone down. The prices have gone up. Government has declared 60% rise of the fare. Still then, Dhaka, Rajshahi, Dhaka, Chittagong, intercity bus service. There are about 25 bus service of a company. Now the company operates only 6 bus services. Because we don't get in passengers. Will they incur loss in this transport sector? Among the hardest hit socially, economically is the worker who are working in the transport sector. And that is why I tell you before that this coronavirus, this measure who has taken hit mostly on the middle class people and the lower class people. People cannot give the rent of the houses. Now it's an out-migration from Dhaka city to their village. I don't know about where, I think same thing is happening in Calcutta. Because Calcutta is not as big as, central Calcutta is not as big as Dhaka. They are now out-migration from Dhaka city from their village. সেদিন একটু বাংলায় বলি, সেদিন আমার এক বন্ধু বলছিল দোস্ত আর থাকতে পারলো না, ভাড়া দিতে পারছি না, এবার বহুদিন বাবার বাড়িতে ভিটাতে বাতি দিতে পারি নাই, একটু যাই বাতি দিয়ে আসি। বাতি দিয়ে যাচ্ছি কি অন্ধকার করোনা যুগে, এটাও আমাদের চিন্তা করতে হবে। সরি টু বেঙ্গলি। So the country has about 5 million people, the country, 5 million people engaged in the transport sector, have been left to confront another battle, that is hardship. 5 million people. They are not fighting with corona now. They are fighting with the hardship plus corona. Along with, they are passing through a very difficult time, losing their ways to earning their earnings. Our government has taken some measures. Some organizations have given some measures. I personally, I have organized, we give some, make some lunch and some food stuff to them for about 1.5 months. Every twice a week. We have to do it. So for a while they are locked down. For a while we get the money. Okay. Around 700,000 people used to work here, but about 80% are jobless and they work like a day laborer. The manager of a transport company is known to me. He came the other day to see me, sir, I am now doing a vegetable business. Just imagine. He was a sub-manager of a transport company. Now he's selling vegetables in a market. A bus used to earn about $50 a day in Dhaka. And the work is around $7 to $14 a day. But now it is zero. Then now just imagine how they will maintain their family. The General Secretary of Dhaka District Road Transport Vehicles Workers Union said that there are around 40,000 vehicles, including bus, truck, three-wheelers in the greater Dhaka, and around 0.15 million workers are involved in this sector. At present, due to country-wide lockdown and some area-based lockdown, but still it is being imposed on some specific areas and regions. Because corona is a contagious disease, restriction on the movement of people have been imposed. Carrying capacity of public transport has become half. So these are all these things. They are not therapeutic measures. They are all non-therapeutic measures. Except emergency, private vehicles owners seldom use the public transport now. United States, on the other day, I was going through an article in one state, that in a small city, they said that you just go to a bicycle. Is bicycle is possible in a city like Calcutta and Dhaka? It can possible in cities like Europe. They're small population, not like Dhaka, 2 crores, 2.5 crores, 2 crores and 10 lakhs. So they in that city, probably in Minnesota, they say that you go to the work by bike, or by walking, or by private vehicles with your relatives. They are also thinking about we know our country, our employer. In this situation, the public vehicle owners operate less than half of their full capacity. Vehicles in intercity and intercity transportation with less manpowers. Now, sharp reduction of public transportation demand poses several questions for the future sustainability of mobility in urban areas. The post-corona period, which is like to be prolonged, we don't know when it will end, requires several coordinated actions from the policymakers. It should be. It should be between policymakers, public transport agencies, workers, and users. They have to think, these four segments of people should think about it. The main objective is to ensure the public transportation is as safe as possible. Now, some policy directions. Number one, to incorporate public health consideration in public sector transportation. Hygiene, hygiene, sanitation, and ventilation. We have to consider about this next time. To ensure social and physical distance in public transportation. In like Philippines, still we use when a person enters to a bus, the temperature of his head is checked by this. But we know our mode of work. We are not I should say that we are not civilized by using those things. To secure service efficiency and effectiveness, because the service has gone down. To assess the speed of virus in public transportation. To reduce the risk of virus spreading in public transportation, it also. To reduce the virus. And change of behavioral response. Our behavioral pattern should have been also changed. Adaptation executed by the passengers. This coronavirus will go, but our entire world, particularly the Bengali nation, will be changed culturally, economically, socially. Last of all, to Sushmita, I'm an optimist. I still believe in the Percy by Shelley's, the romantic poet of England, that if winter comes, can spring be far behind? We are now in winter. Shelley wrote it. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Hello, I am audible.
Hello, economist. Tell me.
Thank you very much, sir, for this valuable information. We have some questions, but due to time constraint, we will take 3 to 4. Shall I start with?
You can take more if you have time.
Oh,
you can take more because can you say Bengali? আরে আমাদের জাতীয় ভাষা বলি না কেন সবাইকে এখানে তো আর এই ব্যারের কেউ আছে ওই সুস্মিতা আছে ও তো ইংরেজি আচ্ছা বলো হ্যাঁ বলো স্পিক ইন ইংলিশ
First question from Alpona Hira. What measures do you suggest to combat the tremendous Dhaka road congestion?
What road? Sorry?
Dhaka road.
Dhaka.
Yes.
Dhaka road condition. You know, a city of having 221 million people. I remember in 1979, I was in Calcutta with my wife. So we are passing through Shialda station. So I just, we are going to Maulali Mazars. There is a gentleman was walking in front of me. I just push him around and he said to me, Dada, kindly overtake korben na. In Calcutta, he was overtaking. But now you have a overbridge near Sialda. There's no question of overtaking. In Calcutta, in 79 and 80s, if you cross a person, he will tell you, but Dada overtake. It overtake was, it was a fact. But now in Dhaka, we have to think about it. There are road transport authorities has got 3 or 4 committees to ensure the mobility of the Dhaka transport. So they are doing. So number one thing is share riding system is Kolkata now. Do you have share riding system in Kolkata? Share riding?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have.
Yeah. Recently that hasn't been dropped because if I share a motorbike, they give me a helmet, isn't it? I
Yes.
came down from the side and you enter. You will put the same helmet. I was carrying the coronavirus. That has also gone down. The share riding in Bangladesh, Dhaka city has gone down. Just imagine. So there is my road transport authority, the planning department, our government transport ministry. They are having they have formed 3 or 4 very high board committee to ensure about things. Thank you. Next question.
Second question from Irani Chatterjee. What will this pandemic gradually shifting focus of the transport system from public to private, and how does this affect the future post-COVID situations?
Only God, Bhagavan can knows when it will go, how will it go, and in which way it will go. 3 things: when it will go, how it will go, and when it will go, what things she or he'll carry. So, its situation comes. Say when the lockdown was there, we are there. Now lockdown is withdrawn, countrywide lockdown. Our country, the education institute is still closed up to 8th of August. You have published the higher secondary education result yesterday, isn't it? But we haven't the examination in our country yet. We are thinking about when they will appear for this. So it is only the future knows, the situation knows what measure we will take. It is in a nutshell, we have to take decision individually, individual situation, not collectively. Okay.
Okay, sir. Third question from Sanjit Kundu. What are the basic criteria to be considered in proposing public bus route for any metropolis city in post-COVID situation, mainly in developing countries?
If in the other article, the World Health Organization tells this person, I have forgotten his name, he told that this will continue for another 2 years. So the structure of bus is also being changed. There are 3-seated bus, there will be 2-seated or single-seated bus. The structure of bus will also change. And definitely, if the people will not use the public transport as before, it is for sure, because it is a contagious disease. Nobody knows when the coronavirus will come and affect you. In our case, some of the people say, no, it will not come to me. Can we say that? IUCN, International Union of Transport, only 40 billion euros have been lost due to euro in the European countries. 40 billion euros. The financially they are not getting it. Just imagine. Not million, 40, it is not my data. It is IUTN, International Union of Transport, IUTP. So we cannot take a combined decision. A problem will come, we will take B decision. C problem will come, we will take D decision. F problem will come, we will take G decision, like this. And then when it will go, I'm not a very young man. When you were young, you took a vaccination for smallpox and cholera injection. Cholera. Now, is our young gave the vaccination? They gave the smallpox vaccination? No. When the coronavirus vaccination will come, and when we'll give it in, this will disappear, but it will take time. এখন কিন্তু বাচ্চাদেরকে টিকা দেওয়া হয় না, হয়? আমরা কিন্তু দিয়েছি। আমরা এদের কলেজে আর ডিপথেরিয়া ইনফ্লুয়েঞ্জা ইঞ্জেকশন দিয়েছি। আহা, 5-6 দিন কি ফোলা থাকলো। আপনি দিয়েছেন? না, দেননি। আপনার বয়স দেখে তো মনে হচ্ছে আপনিও দেননি। দিয়েছেন? দিয়েছেন?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, এখন তো আপনার ছেলে কিংবা সন্তান যদি তাকে দিয়েছেন না। Same thing will come. This one, it will, after 2 years, everything will change. It will depend on the situation. I hope I can make an answer to this in a very indirect way. আরো কোশ্চেন থাকলে বলো, সময় আছে তো আমার?
Yes, sir. Next question from Suraj Sharma. Sir, it is possible to put up separate track for bicycles as we do for trams or trains
Okay.
in urban areas?
I put him one question. Can you put a bicycle lane in Shialda? In a Ravindra Saroni? In front of 35 Baliwar Circular Road, the Science Faculty of Calcutta, where Geography Department is there? Can we make a bicycle? It can happen in the European cities like Sweden, like France, like Denmark, because their population is less. Suppose let us say, আমরা একটা bicycle lane করলাম. Will I said one thing, our behavioral pattern will also be changed. In 1988, I was in Beijing for a conference. Everyone is going in the morning by bicycle, one after another. আমাদের দেশে কি একটার পর একটা বাইসাইকেল যাবে, ক্রস করবে না? করবে কিনা? আই স মাই ওন আইস। আমি সে হোটেল থেকে দেখতাম যে কি কান্ট্রি, একটা মেয়ে যাচ্ছে যাচ্ছে যাচ্ছে, কেউ কাউকে ওভারটেক করছে। ইজ ইট পসিবল ইন আওয়ার কান্ট্রি? পসিবল? কালকে তো ইন্ডিয়াতে হায়েস্ট নাম্বার অফ ইউএসএ অ্যাকর্ডিং টু আনন্দবাজার পত্রিকা, 34,000 people affected yesterday in India. 34,000. আমি আজকে আমি ইন্ডিয়ার পেপারগুলো দেখি, বর্তমান, আজকাল, সরি বাংলা বলাতে কোনো অসুবিধা হচ্ছে না তো?
না না,
হাঁপিয়ে গিয়েছি ইংরেজি শুনতে শুনতে আর বলতে বলতে।
Okay, sir. The last one from Tania Parvin. Will people switch to more individual modes of travel like bike or car and shutting down crowded public transport?
No. In our country, our economy, only 5 to 7% people have private cars and bikes. Will that be sufficient? It is for us, what the Europe thinks, we cannot think in that line. We cannot have we can have bicycle lines in our district towns. Like say in Baharampur, Murshidabad. They might have put some they can have ride sharing, which is very cheapest in Dhaka city. Nearly 400,000 people used to ride the ride sharing because it's costless. You can go to 20 rupees for 6 to 7 kilometers or 8 kilometers. Now people are not using that. They will be using it by buying separate, what you call hand gear. The same hand gear is using by the other passengers. So I tell you one thing, we have to take decision about the transport sector, particularly as the problems come to us. We cannot say that this is the thing. When this corona lockdown was imposed, did we think that this low employed worker of the transport sector will be in the trouble, they will be in the hardship? We didn't think that one. At that time, it was the necessity of the government to save the people's life. Lockdown and physical distance or social distance, whatever I call you, wearing mask, having gloves is a thing. These are not a medical treatment. Are this medical treatment? These are not medical treatment. But now, every government realized that it all depends upon your subject, that's economy. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Right.
We are really fortunate to have you here.
Oh, no, it's not.
আমি পুরো বাংলায় বলবো এবার, আপনারও কষ্ট হচ্ছে, আমারও কষ্ট হচ্ছে।
আমি একটা কথা বলে দিই, ট্রান্সপোর্টের প্রবলেম কলকাতায় একটা যোগ বলি, বাসে উঠেছে বাসে উঠেছে, বাসে বসতে
হ্যাঁ।
পারছে না, দাঁড়িয়ে আছে। তো বলছে, দাদা একটু সরে সরে বসুন। সে উত্তর দিচ্ছে, সরে সরে বসবই কি মশাই, কোলে এসে বসে পড়ুন না।
একদম,
ঠিক
এটাই
আছে?
আমাদের সিচুয়েশন স্যার, এটাই
হ্যাঁ,
আমাদের সিচুয়েশন এই
দাদা
মুহূর্তে দাঁড়িয়ে।
সরে সরে বসবো কি মশাই, কোলে এসে বসে পড়ুন। এত ওই বাসে সিটে ওই ভদ্রলোক বলছে আমার কোলে এসে বসে পড়ুন। আমি জানি না
আমাদের
এটাকে
মস্করা কি হবে স্যার, আমাদের এই সিচুয়েশন আমাদের কলকাতাতে স্যার লাস্ট 2-3 সপ্তাহে যে র্যাপিড রেটে বেড়ে গেল পেশেন্ট, তার মেইন রিজন কিন্তু সবাই বলছে এই বাসে একটা হিউজ ক্রাউডিং হয়েছে, কনজেশন হয়েছে, বাসে করে গেছে, এবং তার জন্য কিন্তু এই পুরো এই র্যাপিড রাইডটা কিন্তু হয়েছে।
ইন্ডিয়াতে 1 লক্ষ রোগী হয়েছে 3 দিনে, মাত্র 3 দিনে।
এক্স্যাক্টলি
Last
স্যার,
3 days।
এক্স্যাক্টলি ভারতবর্ষে
1 লক্ষ।
এক্স্যাক্টলি
তাহলে
স্যার।
আমাদের এখন হতে হবে ফিজিক্যাল ডিস্টেন্স, আর এটা আমি সোশ্যাল ডিস্টেন্স বলি, আমি ফিজিক্যাল ডিস্টেন্স।
এক্স্যাক্টলি
তোমার সাথে
আমরা
কথা বলছি তো সোশ্যাল ডিস্টেন্স। মাস্ক পরতে হবে, গ্লাস পরতে হবে,
একদম
আদারওয়াইজ
স্যার।
এটাকে। এই যে কলকাতায়, ইন্ডিয়াতে গতকাল হাইয়েস্ট এফেক্টেড 34,000 লোক এফেক্ট হয়েছে। Just imagine।
আরো হবে স্যার, এটা এখনো কিছু নয়।
আর বাঙালি, আমি জানি না তোমাদের কলকাতায়,
1 লাখ
এখানে
হবে,
বুঝেই না।
1 লাখ হবে।
আমি বাজারে যাই দেখি কোনো মাস্ক নাই, আমি কিন্তু মাস্ক পরছি না কেন, কে না স্যার আমারে ধরবে না। এটা আমার একটা গল্প মনে পড়লো। একটা দেশে একটা ইয়ে আসলো, মানে কি বলে, জন্তু আসলো, আনসিন একটা সে সবাইকে মারে, বেশি মারে না, একটা মারা যায়। ও তো মাত্র 2 লক্ষ লোকে একটা মারা যাচ্ছে, আমি তো মারা যাবো না। ও তো ডেলি দুজন
লোকের মধ্যেও এই ভাবনা চিন্তাগুলো রয়েছে, মানে তথাকথিত শিক্ষিত মানুষের মধ্যেও এই ভাবনা চিন্তা রয়েছে স্যার।
আমাকে ধরবে না, কারণ আমি তিস্তা দে, আমি সেমিনার করেছি, আমাকে কেন ধরবে?
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
না, I am very grateful to you। বজ্রপাত সব বৃষ্টি হচ্ছিল, আমি খাইছে তিস্তার মধ্যে এখন বন্যা রাখবে তিস্তা নদীতে।
আপনাকে আমি অনেক বিরক্ত করেছি গত 2 সপ্তাহ ধরে স্যার, আপনি এত বিরক্তি সহ্য করেছেন, আমার এত ফোন, এত মেইলস আপনি সহ্য করেছেন, থ্যাংক ইউ ফর দ্যাট স্যার।
আমার ওয়াইফ বর্তমানে লস অ্যাঞ্জেলেসে আছে, আমার ছেলের সাথে আসতে পারেনি, ও আমেরিকান সিটিজেন। ও আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করেছে যে ওকে ঢুকতে পারবে কিনা, আমাকে না, এটা বোধহয় তোমার বোধহয় অ্যালাউ হবে না, এটা
ইউটিউব লিংকটা দিয়ে দেব, ইউটিউব লিংকে আপনি সব যে কোনো সময় দেখতে পারবেন।
আমাকে
এটা আমাদের একদম স্যার পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি, আবার পাঠিয়ে দেব। থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার। এবার আমরা তাহলে আমাদের থার্ড স্পিকারের কাছে যাব স্যার। আপনার সাথে তো কথা হয়।
তুমি বলে যে আমি কি তোমাদের বুঝাতে পেরেছি কিছু?
ভীষণ ভাবে স্যার, আমাদের ভীষণ দরকার ছিল স্যার। আমরা ফ্রান্স ফিলিপিন্স যখন করলাম, আমরা ফিলিপিন্সের সিচুয়েশনটার সাথে ভীষণ ভাবে নিজেদেরকে সিমিলারিটি আমরা দেখতে পেলাম। আপনি যখন ঢাকা বললেন, ঢাকা তো আমাদের নিজের শহরের মতো, ঢাকার সাথে আমরা ভীষণ ভাবে সিমিলারিটি খুঁজে পাই।
কিন্তু
ভীষণ দরকার
ঢাকা, এটা মনে করবে ঢাকা ইজ বাংলাদেশ, বাংলাদেশি ঢাকা, লাইক ব্যাংকক।
ইয়েস স্যার, ইয়েস
লাইক ব্যাংকক। কারণ এটা এত মিডলে, শহরটা এত মাঝখানে দেশের, সব লোক এখানে আসতে পারে। কলকাতা তোমাদের রাজধানী না, তোমাদের রাজধানী উত্তরে। আমি মাদ্রাজে গিয়েছি পরীক্ষা দিতে, তামিলনাড়ু গিয়েছি, মাদুরাইতে গেছি, বলে ও দিস অ্যানাদার কান্ট্রি, দিল্লি ইজ অ্যানাদার কান্ট্রি। তোমাদের যেতে অসুবিধা হয় না? 16 ঘন্টা রাজধানী এক্সপ্রেস। থ্যাংক ইউ, সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ। বুঝতে পেরে
ধন্যবাদ স্যার, আমরা যোগাযোগ রাখবো আপনার সাথে। খুব ভালো থাকুন।
আগে বলেছিল যে আমি একটু রস দিয়ে কথা বলি,
সেটা সবাই বুঝতে পারছে স্যার। ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
কিন্তু তোমার থিসিসটা কিন্তু অনেক রসে ভরা।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. Bye. Now we will proceed towards our next part. But before that, I have an announcement for all my beloved students. We have some, rules and regulations. We want to help you in different ways. We want you to be a part of this webinar, and that's why we have implemented this coding system. Please don't take it in another way. We have some different systems for you, but this is only for you actually. So we have already given 3 codes for all of you, my dear students. The first code is KC3124. Please note down. The first code is KC3124. It is also seen on the screen. The second code is KC6589. The second code is KC6589. And the third code is KC2145. Third code is KC2145. We have already given 3 codes. We will give you 2 another codes. So there will be total 5 codes. Just continue watching this wonderful webinar. This will be helpful not only for our daily purposes, for very publications and writing of different transport related, geography related, COVID related issues and papers. Okay, so now there will be the third session, but I also have another announcement. I have seen that there are many participants who didn't register, but still they are watching, they are continuously with us. So please contact with me. On this webinar brochure, you have my number and you also have the email ID of this webinar. So please contact with me and contact through the email, contact through my phone number. Then I can assure you that if you are with us continuously, thoroughly with this webinar, you will definitely get a certificate. Okay, so now please, Dibyenduda, please be with us, and we will have our third speaker. So over to you, Dibyenduda.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Tistade. And now our third and last session. Our third and last speaker is Professor B.C. Vaidya. He is presently working as a professor in geography at CIPOD, Central for International Politics, Organization and Disarmament, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Professor Vaidya has a teaching experience of 34 years. He has guided 27 MPhil PhD students and has published more than 100 articles in reputed national and international journals and anthologies. He has authored 10 books in geography, among them Transport Geography of India and Reading in Transport Geography are well recognized. Currently, Professor Vaidya is editing 2 geographical journals, namely the Deccan Geographer and Bhugol Shastro Sangshodok. He is one of the most recognized professors in India and has several works on transport geography. Today, he will deliver his lecture on impact of COVID-19 on Indian transport sector. Over to you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, we are audible.
Please continue. Please continue.
Good evening,
Thank you.
everybody. Respected Principal, Dr. Abhijit Ganguly, uh, Principal of the Kidderpore College, Calcutta, Dr. Kista Day, who is a convener of this webinar, and IPAC coordinator, Dr. Shidashna Sarkar Rai, the resource person, and two speaker who deliver lecture just now very nicely, and the very important, that is dear participants who are participating here in the discussion. I personally thank to the college authority who has given me chance to interact and meet to discuss on this webinar. This is an opportunity to learn new things during question and answer. Uh, Now everybody knows that we are in lockdown in 3 stage and then unlock in 2 phases. All we are experiencing both positive thought and the negative thought, which we call the impact, either positive and negative. Today, my topic of presentation is impact of COVID on Indian transport sector. Hmm. Uh, we know that every activity has restricted to our family, our houses. We can say we are house arrested, but the moment has stopped, and that has resulting to arise many more things. Now I'm sharing my PPT. My restrict my lecture related in general way, explaining what are the means of transport, mode of transport, particularly in case of India. I'm not talking about other country and situation like environment, other things, but I am talking about only the Indian case study, particularly taking the metro services, which is presently restricted in Delhi. So my topic is only concerning only two things. One is the transport sectors, different sector of India, and the case study of the Delhi. As we know that uh, every country development is depend on how the transport is very efficient, uh, very efficient to go in the advanced stage. We are considering the transport as essential connected to the economic development, and which will people will make a progress throughout their lives. Uh, it is very general that the transport generally help to grow the industry, because we know that after industrial revolutions, every country going for competition to have a industry, uh, different type of industry. In case of India, we have different pocket. We call it industrial regions like Hubli, Calcutta regions, or Delhi, Faridabad regions, or the Bombay, Ahmedabad regions. So whatever the industry are there, that depend on the transportation. Why this is transport depend on transportation? Because in industry they wanted the labor, they wanted the official staff, and that official staff, if it's not available in the location of industry, then they have to bring either immediate area or near about area or the far distance. For example, in case of the Bombay industry area, the people are coming from particularly as a labor from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So that because of these peoples, the industries are just manufacturing different commodity, and even the perishable article like fish or green vegetables are carried because of the quick transportation to reach to the market and finally to the consumer. Another aspect of the transportation that uh, the transfer always increase the demand for the goods, uh, because production can be introduced to them, but if there is no market, if there is no facility of transportation, so we cannot think about getting the commodity. So always transportation always increase the demand for the goods. Uh, when we think about the utility, geographical and climate factors force to industry to locate in a particular place. This is general phenomena. But now we think because of the transportation, the industry can be located away from the marketplace, but that marketplace always linked because of the transportation facility. Transport always ensure the even flow of commodity, because we know that the commodity of any type of commodity cannot produce everywhere. So where is a surplus commodity or where is a lacking commodity or not surplus commodity are transported to the places where there is a requirement or where there is a demand. So that is why always transportation always helps to make a flow of the commodity. This transportation enable the consumer to enjoy the benefit of goods not produced locally, because local products, whatever product commodity produced, are not sufficient for their livelihood. They cannot survive. They have to depend on other commodity which are produced from other country, and that has brought are continuously bringing because of the facility of the transportation available. Uh, we always think that there is a competition, the identify competition, uh, because prices are reduced because of the facility offered by transport, large scale production, and advantage of large scale production is possible only due to the transportation. Anywhere, if there is a large scale production and there is no facility of transportation, no use of this large production. So if there is a transportation available, definitely that commodity, that manufacturing will go everywhere. And another thing that when we think about the transportation always help to make a movement for the labor. As I have given the example that in big city like Delhi, Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, uh, the people are going. There is no restriction. There is no boundary. There is no boundary because uh, transport linked to the other state easily. That is why it makes people of one place to mitigate the other places instead of job. Definitely, the people will move the place of manufacturing in big city in order to get the jobs, and that is possible because of transportation. See that Shatabdi train or the Duronto train, which link for Bombay to Calcutta or Calcutta to Delhi. This is because of this facility available. The laborers can make a mobility, can go to the place of jobs. Uh, in generally, we think that the transport sector can be have five type. One is road sector, railway sector, airways, waterways, and pipeline. Uh, in case of India, uh, we have total employee which are involved in the uh, road transport. It is uh, 1.2 millions, and there are total express highway having distance of uh, 1,206. National highway distance is 7,911 kilometers. State highway 15,571. This is the simple maps showing the, uh, the state highway which are living, except you can see uh, the Jammu and Kashmir and some part of the Assam. Everywhere we will find the link. In case of Delhi and surrounding area, in case of Bangalore and surrounding area, or somewhere in Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad, Prayagraj, we can say Banaras or Gorakhpur. These are having the good network where the people can easily make transport. In rail transportation, we always think that it is possible to go for a longer distance. As I said that it always linked from one corner to another corner. Jammu train is going to the South India up to the Kodaikanal, or the Bombay train is going to the even the Assam in Guwahati here and there. So definitely they have linkages. Uh, the Indian railway consists of vast network. Total station in India is having 7,031 stations and spread over a route of 63,221 kilometers. And out of this, only 13,000 still now still is electrified. Uh, Indian Railway always largest network in Asia and second largest in the world. In case of the revenue, because revenue part is very important. We are getting good revenue, that is 1,93,214 crores, and net income is that is 6,014 crores. Employee, you can see in case of employee, many people are involved as a laborers, as an official, as an administrator. So this is good chance to involve the peoples. There are many companies who are involved uh, uh, in this uh, Indian Railway. Like some are working as a financial construction project. Some are looking after, some employee looking after land and station. Some are looking after the rail infrastructure. Some are looking the passenger and freight train operation, and some are involved in IT and communication, and many laborers are employee are just involved as in catering and tourism because they are helping to the rail. Water transportation. As we know that India is having more than 7,000 kilometer coastline, 1,000-kilometer coastline, and that is the bigger benefit. Bigger benefit we are getting. 90% of the seaborne trade is handled by major ports, that is Kandla, Mumbai, Nhava Sheva, Goa, Cochin, Tuticorin, Chennai, and Visakhapatnam, Paradweep, Haldia, Goa, and Kolkata. This means that we are lucky that we are getting this benefit for transporting this one. This map shows the inland waterway where the rivers like Ganga or somewhere Brahmaputra, locally Prayag and surrounding part, the people are making movement. Not too much, but to some extent that also help to the transportation. Air transportation, as we know that it is very important nowadays. If you see the last 10 years, air transportation, air services, air flight are flying a quite number of places, because earlier it was limited to only big city, like the plane was going only the Calcutta or Bombay or the Chennai or Bangalore or city. Now the network of the airport has so vast. If you think that in case of the Maharashtra, how many, you will surprise how many airports? 17 airports are there. It means that earlier it was only the Bombay, now it has Nagpur, Nashik, Akola, here and there. Many places are there. And that is why air transport is the benefit is that immediately, timely, we can reach to the places where we wanted to go. This one. And development of the airport is no longer solely under the police public sector. Now, earlier it was only controlled by the government of India, that is a government agency, Air India only was there. Now there are other actually private companies have come up, and they started the services, flying services, for example, jet services or the Indigo services. Now Vistara has come up, or the Air India also there. But if you see that Air India price of the cost, passenger cost, and the other private, because of the involvement of private agencies and private airlines, there is a competition, and that is why there is a reducing the charges on the passenger. In case of air, air transport sector, the total employee which are involved, that is 20,956, and generally big company or small company in India, 26 are operating. But in major domestic sector, which involve these major companies, as I have given the Go Air, Indigo, Vistara, Air India, this company nowadays are dominant in India, and they are operating 98.9 percentage of the total annual passenger. The effect is very obvious, because we know that the people wanted to move from one place to another place, either by car, by using road transport, or by using the train or plane, only because of the restrictions during the COVID. There is a transportation facility, but that transportation facility has been adversely affected, and that has been stopped, restriction, and therefore the transport has certain effect, particularly in the urban area where the people were living in terms of, for example, Delhi is having more than 16 crore people they are living, and they are coming from different places. After restrictions or stop the transportation, for example, stop the railway, stop the plane, it is very difficult to people to go move from one place, start going to back to their home, where they either from West Bengal, either who are coming from the Uttar Pradesh, or who are coming from the Bihar. They wanted to go, but because of the restriction, they could not go. That is also the effect. During the outbreak of the COVID, there we are facing many challenges. The the like business have near about 99% of stops, and only the and that is why there is a gap between demand and supply. It is very clearly visible that. eh, According to the latest consumer research by Auto Traders, the UK's largest marketplace for new and used car, nearly half, that is 48%. And therefore, trend has come up now, change the behavior. Uh, the most of public transport rental services companies suspended their services during lockdown, and therefore uh, there, there is a tendency to use find out the alternative. That is why public transport provide an alternative to private car has and has become an important part of sustainable transport policy. Public transport benefit the whole community financially for each coins invested during this sort of transport. Different type of public transport which use India like auto rickshaw or taxi, railway or buses. The biggest challenge in the public transport is that we wanted to keep the social distancing. eh? Uh, like India is a very vast country and having a populous country, that is why it is very difficult to India, where public modes are always crowded and infrequent. If you go in the Bihar, that the people uh, who are just traveling, not sitting within the buses or truck, any car, just go. You can see that overflooded. Some people are just sitting on the top of the buses also, and they are traveling. Because of such situation, very difficult to have a social distancing mm, now, nowadays. Uh, Indian government always thinking that to have a certain initiative under Vande Mataram mission in Air India particularly during the COVID, Air India and Air India Express, which is owned by the central government, uh, because during this COVID, the many countries are foreigner. Our students were just learning in the other country, and they could not come back. But during this uh, COVID, the government agency has flight 1,103 flight and brought uh, 20 lakhs passenger to our country who were there either labor, either education purpose, and the some foreigners were there in India, like 85,289 who were the foreigner in the India during the breakdown. Uh, these passengers were sent by plane, by air to their respective country. Now there is a plan coming July 25 to 28. It is proposed that appear in today's newspaper in Delhi Times of India that uh, flight from Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai, fly Amsterdam only for 4 days, whereas another the 5 days flight champions, which is flying to the Frankfurt, that also helps to make interaction uh, with the people. Indian Railway has suffered a loss because of stop of the functioning, top of running, top of transportation, top of transport of the railway. It is a loss of the Indian Railway by 6,500 crores. It means that because which were earned from the ticket sales, and this in the Indian aviation industry is going to suffer a loss by many crores. Now this is the situation. During lockdowns, we see that the number of trains we were just every day was just just flying from one state to another state, one big city to another. It was linking. Now there is no linkages. delinkages, only parking place. We can see the trains which were very efficient, at least to connect the big city, it has been stopped. This is another way that nowadays we have to plan to make or ensure ourselves that we have to keep the social distancing. As earlier, the speaker said that the physical distance or social distance, we can say, but this is so keep distance from each other in a simple way that is possible. See, in Bombay and big metropolitan city, we see that the local trains are overcrowded, particularly in Bombay. Fast train, slow trains, overcrowded. In this situation, very, very difficult to have a social distancing. Another thing that many trains are there, see that one person is just making sanitization. So that is additional responsibility. Uh, because we have to think, make a change in terms of our behavior. We can think, rethink how to change ourselves. Uh, Come to the case study of the Delhi Metro. Uh, at presently, in India, there are 10 cities where there is a metro travels or exist, like Kolkata, Delhi, Bengaluru, Gurgaon, Gurugram, Mumbai, Chennai, Jaipur, Kochi, Hyderabad, and Lucknow. Uh, the Delhi trains earn daily, that is 1 million rupees, and out of 12 months, September is a peak month because of the students are coming July, September for various colleges to join there or for interview or some other purposes. That is why the peak month of the earning. Nowadays, in total employee which are working, that is 800 employee, and out of them only 7% are officers. Daily trip, what we can say that total trips by the metro is 2,700 per day, and carry what is the capacity of daily passenger? Passenger just total is 1.5 million passenger. There are four lines. We pink line, then blue line, yellow line, red line. Uh, pink line is having 38 metro station, which begin from the Majis Park to the and reaching to the Shiv Vihar, covering 58.59 kilometer as length, whereas in blue lines having 50 metro stations from Dwarka sector 21 to Noida electricity. This is the longest route, having 56.6 kilometers. Yellow line having 36 metro station, which begin from the Samaipur Badli in Delhi and reaching to the Haryana, where the name is Huda City Center in Gurgaon, whereas in red line 29 station from Risala and reaching to the Shaidabad station, which is in Faridabad. It is in Haryana state, Faridabad, that is ISBT, having distance of 34.4 kilometers. These are different. The metros pictures not running. Even not today, it is not clear that when it will make a operation. The Delhi Metro is owned by the government, government of India and government of Delhi, and this is the map showing the different metro lines in different color of Delhi city. Among them, Kashmiri Gate Metro Station services historic Kashmiri Gate area of Delhi and is currently the largest metro station within Delhi. Delhi Metro Corporation is a company with equal equity participation from the government of India and the government of Delhi. This metro system is operated by Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, which are looking after this metro running. The project was developed in multiple phases. The phase one, which begin for making the track of 65.11 kilometer. Phase 2, that is 124.9 kilometer, are completed, while 3 is currently the way. Definitely within 6 months after lockdown clears, this will be operated. This is Delhi Metro Corporation's red line, particularly to be constructed and open. And the first segment was constructed from Tis Hazari to Shadara and open on 25th December 2002. Delhi Metro services to be mostly closed on Monday, but nowadays it has continuously closed. Metro train services have been under suspension after outbreak of the COVID, or you can say after immediately announcement by Prime Minister as a Janta curfew, and resumption of the services is subject to the approval by the Delhi government and subsequent from the center. There are certain lessons we have to think, because as earlier speaker said that we have to rethink how to change our mind, how to make a behavior, because we have to make an alternative mind. If you are not learning something from these lockdowns, it means that, for example, in case of Delhi, there was so much pollution. We can say, no, Delhi, so many pollution is there. Now we can think that, oh, Delhi, now because of the lockdown, it reduced, say, the vehicular activity has played an important part in reducing the pollution, and hence the move toward the more efficient public mode of transportation need to be made. So there is now change how to make a efficient public mode after completing the breakdown. There would be tendency that electric buses should be start, and metro connectivity should be enhanced with last mile connectivity. Another effect is that we have to learn that reducing emission intensity of the production through penetration of the cleaning fuel, end of pipe control, and effective monitoring and enforcement is the key. So there are many rethink how can we go for in a newer way or new idea we should introduce in making country. After completing shutdown of public transport, it is necessary to make access, which was very essential, that is health facility for many people, only because of the transportation. Only because of the transportation, particularly in the big cities, where they wanted to use the manpower in the health sector. This was possible because of the operation of the restricted operation, which required to go to the services or essential workers, or where there is a hospital. Mumbai Suburban Rail, for example, use these times for upkeep of their station, tracks, and train. This is also the benefit, because they are people now. The employer getting the chance to make a clear thing, make a change, either station itself, or building, or track, or train, and now lesson we can learn from the reopening the transport system in two ways. One is transit agency must start operating with their full fleet to meet the demand and avoid overcrowding. That is very important. As we see that this was lockdown, it means that we have to make a physical distancing or the social distancing That is why we have to think in this way. Many cities are like Milan are expanding their walking and cycling network, which has reduced the strain on it. But in case of India, it is not 100% possible because crowded population in big city, even the uh, small cities, distance from one city to another city is very far. That is why it is very difficult. In coming uh, to the next 10 years further, we can have some thinking how to make the possibility to have a good vehicle. For example, in coming 10 years, we will be able to see completely autonomous vehicles like car, buses, trucks on the road. And people will steadily transition of self-driving vehicles. This is now very important. And soon driving car or a truck will be think of the past. There are many projects now. It is in the pipelines, like Delhi Mumbai special corridor is going to be start. Mumbai Goa additional the corridors of the road are going to be built. Delhi Chandigarh today's newspaper appeared that there is a plan of the government of India, particularly by the road minister. Uh, there should be travels from Delhi to Chandigarh, which will take only 2 hours. This is plan at least. And ship travel from Mumbai to Goa, that is also possible. Inland waterway, that we were not giving too much attention. Now we have to think about this one. Thank you.
Thank, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your informative speech. And now we will proceed towards our third and last interactive session. Can I audible, sir?
Yeah.
I will suggest some 3 or 4 questions. The first question from Indrajit Roy Chaudhary. What could be the proposed metro railway model in order to maintain physical distance between passengers in different majesties in India after this COVID-19 situations? Have the mega cities in India after? Am I audible, sir?
Now this is a mega city. It means a crowded city.
Yes, yes,
And this
yes,
crowded cities means population has too much and they wanted to keep distance. That is also a major problem. Now
yes,
the thing that we have to increase the uh, frequency. Instead of having the existing frequency, we have to increase the double or triple or more than double frequency, but with keeping the distances. I have shown one slide that in metro, one was there, then one another seat was vacant, third was again occupied, fourth was vacant, like this. That if you want to continue and get, because earning is very important and traveling by the people's within a times, going to the offices in big city, coming back evening, time reaching, that is very important. That is why we have to increase the frequency of the vehicle. That is also the one way.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Tania Parvin. Whether we have adequate capacity in your public transport system to enforce social distancing norms effectively?
I know that in present situation, because this outbreak was without knowing, we got this experience. Now we can think that how to make a social distancing. But again, I am thinking that we don't have a adequate capacity in our public transport system nowadays. But now the government is having certain solution, and government of India have made a committee which will suggest how to make adequate capacity in our public transportation. If we, because ultimately their aim is to make a social distancing. That is why the new norms will come up. Till we have to wait.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question from Sanjit Kundu, Mr. Sanjit Kundu. What are the parameters to compare the effectiveness of BRTS, bus rapid transit system and MRTS, mass rapid transit system in Indian cities?
The both uh, near about the 80% the parameter are the same, because because ultimately aim is to make a efficient, timely bus route rapid transit system and mass rapid transit system, particularly during the office hours, uh, not Sunday and Saturday, but office days. We have to ensure that the both systems should be operated very efficiently. Yes.
Yes, sir. And next from Irani Chatterjee. How can the loss faced by the transport sector be compensated without burdening the public in post-COVID situation?
Question is very complicated, because uh, this is the additional burden. You see that in Indian Railway was the prime source of getting the money. It is getting profit to the Indian government, by which way we ultimately they were serving to the laymen or the Indian peoples. Uh, this is the great loss. Now it will take some time. Immediately we cannot lessen the burden, because in last you can see the 4 5 years or the 2 3 decade that the Indian economy is just decline, and that is why this is additional thing we are not knowing. For example, if we get the loss, we cannot recover immediately. Uh, that is why it will take some time to get. Meanwhile, government will think how to make recover the loss. Okay.
Thank you, Thank you, sir. Now
Okay.
I
Finish.
will request
Yeah?
Dr. Tista De
Okay.
to continue the program.
No, you can continue, Dibinduda. You can continue the question answer sessions. There are some other questions, I think. Aniket, take Dibinduda in and take me in the backstage.
Yes, sir.
Another
Am I
question.
audible, sir? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Next question from Sanjit Kundu again. What are the best models for doing UNA, urban network analysis, at present?
In my opinion, urban network analysis UNA, which is very important, and if you think that the involvement of agency, for example, in case of Delhi, the government of central government, state government, that is Delhi government, and ITPI, town planning department, if they coordinate and they prepare the alternative model, that will help to increase the that will help to make a present alternative.
Next question from Injamamul Haq. In your view, which type of transport is best so that there would be minimum community transport of COVID-19?
So in generally, I can give the answer that cheapest transport, if the facility is available, in case if you go in Assam, flood is there or river is there, if possible, that is cheapest transport, that is answer. But practically, it is not possible every state in a very crowded city, and that is why it depends on the human being which mode they wanted. For example, cheaper who are higher income group, they will prefer go by the plane. They never think the road transport or the truck or buses or car. They will prefer only within 2 hours they can fly from Delhi to Calcutta, Delhi to 3 hours by Delhi to this one. It depends on the income group. So that is why income group always decided which flight is the cheapest for them. Because if they think that they want to go by immediately within 2 hours to Calcutta from Delhi, or 3 hours to the Bangalore, then they will definitely prefer, if they have money in their pocket, will prefer the air services. But in case of the labor, again, there are two types of labor. Some laborers will prefer who is having higher group. They will prefer only the Shatabdi trains or Duronto, and another train which is very well known, that is Garib Rath, go anywhere with AC. Eh?
Yes, sir.
That is also possible. Because
Yes.
if you ask to be higher people, go bar Garib Rath, how can we go? No, not possible
Yes,
like this.
sir.
So it will depend on the income. Yes.
Next question from Alpona Hira. With the tremendous increase of COVID patients, do you think that the lockdown on transport should be imposed again?
50%, my answer is yes, and 50% no. Yes, because there is a possibility to make a having continue of the transmission social of this corona. If you want to avoid, we should not start the transport, because we are not aware about the social distancing. Only heard word social distancing.
Social
Few
distancing.
minutes,
Yes, sir.
at least 2 hours, we can keep in mind when we are going to market. Never just forget this thing and just taking any commodity and coming back. While coming back, they are coming along with the corona. And
Yes,
that
yes, sir.
I will give the example. In Nagpur, near Nagpur, 50 kilometers, there is Balarsha. There was only last 3 months, there was two patient of corona. Uh, when unlock made in Maharashtra, particularly in Bombay, the people went there to native places, and they never told to the family that I am suffering from this one. Uh, the entire family got transmitted by the corona. That is consisting of 8 people. 8 people, when they were going walking here and there, purchasing something in market, that transmitted the market area. Now, after that, my brother, who is a doctor there, he was telling that we have 290 people in Balarsha. See that, where there were last 3 months too. Now is 293 people were there. So in that situation, we cannot start the transportation, because transport allow to people to go anywhere and go along with the corona. And if they go with corona, it means that it is not possible. But possible thing that where there is a less number of population, where we can keep the social distancing in that place. But big city is not possible. Not possible. We cannot control. Even police cannot control. Even the doctor who are working in their hospital, they cannot control.
Yes.
Directly, indirectly, you see that many policemen, many health officials, they are committed, affected because of this thing. Okay.
Okay, sir. Last question, sir.
Uh,
Atria Paul, what will be the cost-effective solution in transport sector in or after post-COVID-19 situation?
Again, this is a futuristic questions. eh?
Or
Still,
is
still,
with it?
still in.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With it, how far physical distancing is feasible solution in a metro cities in India? With this, the same person.
Okay. The same question is there. It is not possible, but we have to make possible.
Yes.
As I said, that we have to change our mind. When we are going and just touching the train, going inside in the metro station. Oh, we have to make in our mind. We have to keep that. Oh, we have to make social distancing. At least 8 days. After 8 days, 11 days, automatically our mind will work like this. Oh, we have to keep this. We have to keep distance. Circle will be there while getting ticket, while entering, while sitting, while coming out. So it is just we have to make the practice physically by our mind. Then it is possible. And to some extent, where is possible, we have to make, and that is only the solution. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Now I request the convener, Dr. Tista De, to proceed the program.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from one of my friend who is also working on transport geography. Her PhD is also from the field of transport geography. She is Dr. Ishita Boral from Tripura University. She is the assistant professor in the Department of Geography, Tripura University. According to her, she asked this question: in post-COVID situation, how would the public transport system run in our cities? That is a big question from all of us, sir.
Uh, so we are now concerned not about the lockdown. We are not concerned about unlock. We are concerned about the post-COVID situation coming near future. Every step from tomorrow, after 15 days, after 30 days, after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, always we think what could be the post-COVID situation. That situation it depend on person, society, community. If they allowed ourselves, because community, society should think in that way, then it is possible. Otherwise, very difficult.
Okay,
So
sir.
near future, we cannot think that we have again lockdown. It is very difficult. Lockdown forever it is not possible. That is why we have to find out the alternative, how to behave, how to work, how to act, how to plan. And plan, if you make a plan, we have to implement in such a way. If you make a plan in having a social distance and we are not keeping the social distance, what will be used? Nothing used. So we have to be habit to make a social distancing naturally while going to college, while going to university, while going to the market, while going to other friends or wherever function is there. So restriction impose ourselves instead of telling by the government. That is the only solution. Yes.
Okay, sir. Sir, please be with us. There will be a short concluding remarks from my side, and then you all will be with us together on the frame. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Please. We are very fortunate that we have you and all other speakers with us today. So thank you very much, sir, from our side. But please be with us in the
Yes.
backstage.
Thank you for your chance you are giving me as a speaker.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now we are on the last phase, almost. There is a short part from my side, uh, not only because as a convener of this international webinar, but as a transport geographer. So what I feel actually, transport geography is to some extent ignored in Indian school of thought, Indian school of philosophy of geography. But when I visited some of the international universities or have some interaction with the geographers from the universities of USA or some Western European countries, there is actually huge scope for research in the field of transport geography. And after this corona contamination or this COVID situation in COVID era, we have ample scopes to do some effective research in the field of transport geography. That what I feel. I think all the transport geographers or other human geographers, they also feel the same. Now we are on the concluding remarks part. So I have some of the observations. So I want to share all these things with you all. Um, so actually, we have had a really wonderful webinar on this actual crucial issue, from France to Philippines, from Bangladesh to various Indian cities, how this novel coronavirus has deeply reshaped our mobility and our travel behavior pattern. Everything is well represented in the last three lectures. In this context, I would like to add some of the transport related issues that are now plaguing our city, our beloved city, Kolkata. Since the beginning of gradual unlocking of our nation, Kolkata has faced severe paucity of mass transport services for all the daily passengers. Opening up of offices, but closure of metro rails, closure of local train services that caused severe pressure on the bus services. But again, we all know that due to multiple points of contentions between the private bus owners and the state government, there was a severe lack of private buses on roads. And that ultimately led to what? Huge crowding of the government buses and rapid rise of the COVID patients. West Bengal originally had the first 10,000 COVID patients in 87 days. But within the next 21 days, another 10,000 patients were added. Then within next 9 days, another 10,000 were added. And then finally, within 5 or 6 days, it is now 40,000. So within next 4 or 5 days, another 10,000 patients were added. In this situation, do you really think there will be opening of metro or local rail services, local train services? No, I don't think so. We actually cannot think about our future. What we have to do is to concentrate on the present situation. We have to be very much pragmatic about implementing proper strategic transport related plans. But the daily passengers are facing huge crises for the public transports. There are rapid rise in the fares of yellow taxis and e-cabs. There are fluctuating rates of auto rickshaws and e-cabs, Ola, Uber, and most interestingly, people are now relying on cycles and on their walking abilities. We are actually caught in a dilemma. We have to find out new strategic options to upgrade our mobility ecosystem rather, with lesser chances of contamination. There are certain avenues, we have to nurture those avenues, like providing people with the freedom of mobility, such as work from home and other online activities, work in multiple shifts. I know that is not possible for the masses, but at least we have to start from somewhere. We have already started. There should be proper preparedness for the passengers, like mandatorily masking themselves, using health apps, maintaining personal hygienes and physical distances. Are we really maintaining all these things? I don't think so. Please distribute this knowledge among all the people that are surrounding us. Otherwise, we won't be able to cope this situation. There should be dissuading of non-essential travels, and we have to focus now on micro mobility, not long distance mobility. There should be digitalization of all the public transport system, including the online ticketing and online ticket verification system. There should be proper coordinated mass transport modes and services. There should be application of mass model. There are ample papers on the implementation of mass models. One can go to Google and one can Google it, and one can have the basic ideas of the application of mass models. This is mostly for the transport geographers, but this is very effective nowadays, and the Western worlds are properly using this model. I know there are difficulties to implement the mass model, proper coordination of all the mass transport services in our city, but at least we have to start from somewhere. That is my point. There should be efficient and more sustainable routes for two-wheelers, for scooters, for bikes, and for shared shuttles. We have to identify new unused roads. We have to find out new feeder roads. There should be cooperation, not competition, between the public and private transport sectors in this tough time. But again, alas, there are competitions rather than cooperations, what we all see in newspapers and everywhere. There should be regular disinfection of the public transport modes, all the depots, bus stations, bus stops. There should be proper monitoring of the social distancing, public service announcements, and all this can be done using drone technology. We have to use those technologies. There should be proper app and GPS-based mobility for all the modes for better data management and future travel planning. And we have to reallocate traffic space to allow physically spaced walking and cycling. Yes, we have to depend on cycling much more nowadays. Finally, what we need? We actually need to reshape our traffic scape for the resilience. This is actually from my part. I'm not a specialist of transport geography, but I have done my PhD and I am interested in this field. So that's why I am quite privileged that I have some of the eminent transport geographers from different parts of the world. So I would like to request Aniket to please ask them to come on the front stage so that we can have all of them together. Professor Vaidya is with us. Yes, hello, sir, again. Professor Bouquet. I can't see Professor
Hello.
Salehin. So, what I feel that as a transport geographer, this lecture is a kind of fulfillment of one of my dream to amalgamate all the eminent transport geographers together in this crisis period. Professor Bouquet gave me his precious time, gave us, Professor Vaidya gave us, Professor Salihin gave us. I thank you all. The entire organizing team are thanking you all for giving your precious time and your speech. Thank you very much. Please be with us. We all need the eminent transport geographers in this tough time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Please be with us. Okay. So now we will be on the last part of our webinar. But prior to that, again, I would like to announce all the 5 codes for my beloved students. There are certain questions like why this coding? You all know that there are some positive aspects of these webinars. Simultaneously, there are some loopholes of these webinars. We all have some ideas. How can we properly use these webinars? How can we skip different lectures and can easily get the certificates? No, you all can get certificates. What you need for the students, this is not for the research scholars, this is not for the teachers, not for any faculty members, but for the students. Please follow the webinar, not only this one, but any of the webinar, please follow. Okay, so again, I would like to announce all the 5 codes. The first code is KC3124, KC3124. The second code is KC6589, KC6589. The third code is KC2145, KC2145. The fourth code is KC8547, 8547. And the last code is KC7814, KC7814. Please do not worry about the certificates. You will all get certificates, but give your valuable information, your valuable inputs. That's what we need most importantly. So last but not the least, the concluding remarks that I have already given, and finally the vote of thanks, the valedictory session. So I would like to share some of my thoughts once again. I am talking so much. I don't know whether you like it or not, but this part is actually from me, so bear me. Give me some time. So we are on the last part of this webinar where I would like to share some of my feelings with you all. This lockdown actually has taught us many things, creates hindrances in our life paths, but simultaneously opened up new horizons of hope. Only we need to find out the rays of light, right? The critical time, this is a critical time actually in history, which has compelled us to open up our academic pursuits and spread our researches and viewpoints worldwide. As a convener, this is my first international webinar. Rather, this is my first webinar as a convener, which would not have been possible without the support of many influential persons in my professional life. First of all, I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. Abhijit Ganguly, who always gives us the right to conduct any kind of academic activities, not only for our college, but also for ourselves. I would also like to thank our IQSC coordinator, Dr. Sudokshina Sarkar Roy, who always supports us with a big smile on her bright face. I would also like to thank Professor Meenakshi Ray, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of Business Affairs and Finance of University of Calcutta, who has given us her precious time to encourage us. She has been one of my ideal teachers and administrators since our days in Bhoirav Ganguly College. This international webinar will not be possible without the support of the speakers, Professor Yves Bouquet, Professor Misbahu Salihin sir, and Professor D.C. Vaidya sir, who have given their time and words to make it successful. I would also like to thank my co-convener this webinar, Dr. Dibyendu Roy, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Physical Education, who has always guided and supported me as an elder brother. I would like to thank my two beloved organizing secretaries, Mr. Pilu Chandra Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, and Ms. Sushmita Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Department of English, who always helped me whenever I needed them. They are like my younger sister and younger brother. I am also thankful to Mr. Shomnath Manna and Lieutenant Biplab Dhara for their involvement in conducting this webinar. A special thank is due to our technical expert, Mr. Aniket Bordhon, Lab Assistant of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, who not only helped us in each and every technical and organizational process, but also raised the standard of this webinar to make it technically flawless. For that, I have to thank Dr. Shravani Roy Maiti, Assistant Professor and Head of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, who allowed Aniket to be a part of this college program and showed us the path of conducting this webinar in a better way. Last but not the least, this webinar will not be successful without the august presence of our participants. Within just 4 days, we received more than 500 registration for participation, and then we were bound to close the registration procedure. While 56% of the participants are faculty members from different colleges and universities, more than 35% are also students. Participants from 15 other states and union territories, they also joined us, like from Delhi, Maharashtra, UP, MP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Tripura, Assam. All of them are with us in this webinar. I hope this webinar brought about new ideas and new knowledge among all of us, and we will use that in our future real life experiences in various ways. So once again, thank you all for being with us. We will meet once again. Yes, we will meet once again tomorrow with new perspectives on our rapidly changing lives in our national webinar on managing human stress and boosting immunity in the era of COVID-19 pandemic, conducted by the Department of Physical Education. So any of my co-convener or the organizing secretary, do you want to share anything with the participants? Please join and say anything. Dibyendu Da?
Thank you, Tista, for your informative speech and very,
Not a
very.
speech.
Thank you very much, Pilu, and thank you very much, Susmita. Everyone, thank you for this nice session. Thank you.
Sushmita?
Looking forward to tomorrow's session again. Want to do more work? Yes.
Yes.
So see
Pilu.
you tomorrow.
Yes, we will be
Thank you
together.
all. Please join us tomorrow at 4
Yes.
p.m. At 4 p.m. Tomorrow we will start
Yes.
the webinar
Yes,
at 4.
to a
There
national
will
webinar at 4 p.m. Yes.
Yes, there
Please.
will be a separate YouTube link. Kidderpore College is now acting very promptly for different academic endeavors, and we will organize a few workshops and webinars in coming future. Be with us tomorrow at 4 p.m. In a different link. We will conduct another national webinar on stress management, on managing human stress and boosting immunity. So,
Thank you.
till then, goodbye. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Bye bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
everyone, bye.
Bye.